You're in, huh? Pause.
You're
You're just using all the
yeah,
terrible
kinda.
words today.
It's typical Xbox Infinite.
Kind of.
Yeah, he's just using all the bad words today. I suppose.
Kinda. Kinda. Kinda.
Mhm.
Well, we don't have cameras on, so a little different. Yet. Yeah.
Lose. Yeah.
Oh right, yeah, Baldur's crap. No, I've been playing games, of course. I started up Like a Dragon, Gaiden, Man Who Erased His Name. I've been kind of working through that. I think I finished Mario RPG before that. Yeah, just playing. You know, I finished Pentiment, which was really good actually. I liked it. It was rather crazy, but yeah. And then we had this fun show yesterday, and maybe not so fun for one segment of our gaming community, but fun for the others. So we'll get into it.
Better than we thought.
Yeah.
Monad said he can't hear you, Risk. Yeah, and Pico Trick as well, brother.
Motherfucking settings
Well,
got
that's
changed
a
on me.
blessing to all you guys. I'll
Yeah.
take over the show then. It'll be much better.
Well,
Yeah.
we were trying to save the show, not curse it with you leading it, Pete. But
Yeah. So
I
OBS
wanted
is
myself, Holly, or Hargeet should take over if anything.
The whole conversation where it was just me talking to Riskit, they only heard me saying weird things like blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah,
Oh,
blah, blah, blah.
you're like, yeah,
Oh,
what?
wow.
Yeah.
You-
Yeah,
Yeah.
well,
set you up.
I was saying that you
Yeah,
get
right.
nervous if I'm in a suit. But anyway,
It's fixed now.
yeah, I know it's fixed. I should have checked the settings. I'm like, I bitch and moan about when other people don't check their settings because I'm a big proponent of that. So my bad. But OBS has just been they did an update and changed a whole bunch of stuff, and it's been running really weird. So I should have checked it. Should have known better. Should have known better. But Infinite Umbra, welcome back. How's your week? What have you been up to?
Oh, I've been up to a few things. Largely enjoying life. No, joking. I'm not enjoying it at all. I'm doing a move right now, and so actually I have to talk to you guys about that. I might not be able to make it next week. I'm moving and doing some things. So
Well, it'll be our best
Don't
show
Don't
yet.
say that, bro. No.
oh,
Don't.
that'll be worse. You know what? Now I'm gonna call in off the phone just to make it bad for you. Like, hey, it's me with the terrible quality phone. Exactly. Hey, it's all you hear is like police cars in the back. But yeah,
Oh, that's
But,
so different, bro. It's Chicago.
And you hear, get on the
listen, part of
ground!
my reason,
Get on the goddamn ground! Umbra's like, it's my
Part of the
TV!
reason-
It's my TV!
I paid $3,000 for this. But no, part of the reason for moving is to get out of this main street so I can have less noise. So that's what I'm aiming for. But yeah, man, I mean, we had this excellent show, which, by the way, well, I'll get into it when we get to it, but I was excited that Xbox showed up and did the thing.
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
say that. It was like a showcase, a mini showcase, if you will.
Oh,
for
I-
Xbox. So,
I think I know where you're going to go with that. It's unproven and not true.
Yeah.
But we'll move.
well, we'll see. Also, by the way, I want to make an announcement that I'll be collecting your kneecap today. Right?
That's unproven, not true.
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
Yeah.
I didn't see that part of the show, so we have a discussion later on. JediKnightPete, another fantastic week. How's your week been? What are you up to?
Yeah, good. Gaming Awards. I think Blade stole the show. Blade game by Arcade, third-person action adventure game. Cannot wait. That was absolutely amazing. Had a little bit of a watch party with Hargeet and Jimmy and Manic. Had a great time watching with you guys, so thank you for that. It was weird because Umbra, you had the fix on at the same time that Holly had the Red Wolf Renegades or whatever the hell his show is called. So I was trying to both support you guys.
Thanks. Appreciate that.
Oh, so much support the way you just named it out like that.
Yeah, right. He's like, whatever the hell.
Whatever the hell that thing is.
What the name of the show is. But look, it's a great show. I love Red and Holly and Assassin and those guys in DeMarco. So it is a great show. You guys should all check it out. But yeah, so I was watching the show at the same time as that. I thought the show is very, very, very long, and I don't care about any of the winners, but what we did get in terms of announcement were really, really fantastic, and I think Xbox killed it, and they really, really did show up this year, so looking forward to getting into that discussion. I've been playing Zombies, Call of Duty Zombies, and Halo Firefight, both fantastic PvE versions of the game, which, yeah, I love.
Yeah, I don't know if it was long. We'll get into that in a minute. I mean, I like a good show. Well, you know, some trumpets, some orchestras, some weird segments. Blue, how's your week been? What have you been up to? How was the Red Renegade, that thingamy-bob show?
This is gonna be a thing now, huh? This has to be a thing. All right, okay. I see how it is. Hello, everyone. It's been a very busy week. In real life, and then in this alternate reality that we do stuff in, and I am part of the Renegade Realm podcast.
Mm-hmm.
We live streamed last night.
Oh,
We live streamed last night, and Colt joined us for most of it, and just had a really good time. DeMarco was live streaming on his own channel, and we did our thing and had our dogs on stream, and goofed off. So it's good. We played bingo, and nobody won. I made bingo for us and to choose like our different who we thought was going to win, and we all screwed up a lot. So, but one of the squares was this flute guy was supposed to show up and have a solo, and I said, heck yes, flute guy is going to show up and have a solo, and like I didn't even see him. Somebody's like, oh, there goes flute guy, and I was like, wait, what?
He was there.
Like he was there, but like I only saw him. I didn't even see him. He must have only been on the camera for like 3 seconds. I was very disappointed, especially when they even had him like do that little promo where he's like, "It's me, and I'm gonna be there," and he did his little thing, right? And
what was that
I didn't even see him.
That guy was playing that massive thing. Did everyone see that? He was on the right-hand side of the screen during the show. Oh, no, I didn't know what that instrument was, but that thing was cool.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we're having a dropout hard. Let me just play with my settings. He was there. He was on the clarinet, wasn't he? I mean, we'll just keep talking, but he was on the clarinet, right?
He was on multiple. He switched out.
The flute guy?
Yeah, flute guy was there.
Oh,
he did a flute.
I missed it. Maybe I was too busy marking the bingo cards with wrong. That was correct, I guess. I don't know. So anyway, it was a good time, and it went very long, and we got real punchy at sometimes because I think we were just tired and being dumb. So I played Call of Duty because I don't know, my brain just can't stop, and I'm getting further along in my camo grind.
Mm-hmm.
Just can't be. Oh, I did play Dredge. I played the first hour of Dredge. Everybody should. It's a free 1 hour trial on the store. And at first, I was like, "Oh, I don't know about this." But by the time the hour was done, I was like, "Dang it, I really want to buy this game." but I didn't. I was like, "Wait for a sale, wait for a sale." But it was good. It was a good game. I liked it.
Yeah.
End of story.
And that's my story. Needs more dragons. As with every story that everyone
Mark
tells.
Cowbell.
Yeah. So me, man, I honestly haven't even picked up a controller that much this week. I've was absolutely flat out at work. Been going back to the gym. Finally pulled my finger out of my butt and heading back to the gym, making sure I'm going, trying to get fit.
Bro.
So I haven't really had much time to play. I did
Gotta make
drop.
walking easier.
Do what? I did.
I said it's gotta make walking easier.
Yeah.
Sorry, you said you pulled your finger out of your butt.
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely does. I'm not always like looking over my shoulder. But yeah, I played a little bit of Baldur's Gate this morning. Tried to get into a firefight game, couldn't get into one this morning, so I haven't checked that out. I did play a bit of the multiplayer on Halo just to sort of see what how good the desync issues were. Had they gone away? And yeah, it seemed like it's much better. Like I did a late bunt and it actually registered and killed a guy. So yeah,
Yeah, we need to talk about that later, bro.
Yeah, I think it's in a pretty good state. Baldur's Gate, I didn't get much past the intro and the character creation screen, and man, does that take a while. It always does when you get a decent character creator, so that's fair. We had a really big week. We had GTA 6, which we didn't get to talk about. I know a lot of people went live and sort of talked about that, but we didn't get to talk about it. I want to chop that up a little bit before we jump into the show. I would bring that up on screen as a trailer, but Rockstar are notorious for DMCAing your channel if you even play seconds of a trailer, so I can't do that. But it's pretty amazing, right? Here's my thing. That's not in game. There's no way that's in game, and we can definitely. I know a lot of people say yes, it's in game, and no, it's not in game. I know it says in engine, but it's not. There's no way it's looking that good. If you watch that chick twerking and her hair's blowing in the wind, that kind of physics is like ridiculously hard to achieve. I just don't see it. In my personal opinion, I don't see it. And the denseness of the NPCs and the population, like I must have watched it about 4 times. I'm like, this is just not. I don't see this being possible on a console. So they're not releasing on PC straight away. So I mean, maybe they're running it obviously on a GDK or something. But that's just no way it's looking that good. And if it does, that is like the best looking game that has been released almost ever. Hargate, what were your thoughts on the trailer? What do you think? Real?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a trailer, right? So, is it the real gameplay? We'll see. But I mean, the trailer can absolutely be done on whatever console you want. So those could all just be cutscenes, right? So, but look, the game could look pretty good. Well, yeah, they usually push the envelope anyway, right? So. We'll see what they end up doing with it. The things that I like, it didn't matter for me if the trailer came out. Like, we're gonna buy this game anyway, right? Like, it's not Grand Theft Auto come out, so like anybody's gonna be, we're all gonna be getting it anyway. So, but the things I was looking for was, are they gonna have the same sense of humor? Are they gonna go after everything? And it looks like they are. They're basically taking what Miami looks like and said, yeah, we're just going to make fun of this. Have fun. So, yeah, that part was good. So, that's really the only thing I was looking for here. I come on, I was going to buy this game anyway. So, I don't know if anybody in the panel was going to say no. I think, Blue, you haven't played anything from
I have not. No.
Well, so yeah, maybe you buy this one.
No, I played the Red Dead series. I just haven't played GTA.
Oh, so you have played the Red Dead? I thought I asked you about that. Did you play Red Dead? But yeah, so did you?
Oh yeah, I played them both. Yes. Okay. Oh my gosh, Red Dead 2 is top tier to me.
But it's pretty good. Red Dead's really good. So
the best
yeah,
games ever
I would
made.
recommend playing it.
I mean, if you look at the visuals of Red Dead, it's not too dissimilar to GTA. I just think it's more the density of the NPCs, which really, really stood out in GTA. And I think something that Cyberpunk struggled with a lot when, a lot of the problems and the issues that they had was because of the density of the NPCs. And I think that comes a lot with when you're recreating a city. But look, they said in-engine footage, so I don't know if the game's exactly going to look like that. And I would dare say they're running it, at the highest specs, so I don't think that it will look exactly like that. But I do think that Rockstar have the capability of blowing us all away when it comes to things like that. So, look, regardless, everybody's going to love GTA. What do you think, guys? Do you think anything at the Game Awards touched the GTA
They're saying what
announcement?
happened in the chat,
Yeah,
guys.
we've lost
Sorry to interrupt.
we've lost visual. I've got it as well, but I think we're still on. Visuals come back now. It is buffering a little bit. I'm just trying to cover for risk. This is going to be back in a moment. So yeah, I just wanted to ask you guys, do you think anything at the Game Awards touched GTA and the announcement they had? That was the worry that I had going into the going into the Game Awards. Like, would GTA just steal everybody's thunder?
Well, nothing is touching GTA. It's a game of the generation type of game, multiple generations at that. I mean, you can be more excited for something else, though. I mean, not everybody likes GTA, right? So there is that. Holly is proof of that. But the case of it is, as far as what it means to the culture of gaming and everything like that, hell, the people even outside of gaming, yeah, nothing is touching GTA. So
Yeah,
it's good.
yeah.
It's good that they launched that 2 or 3 days, whatever, before the show, because it would have stole the thunder completely from everything else. That's not even a question. As far as what I'm
Yeah.
personally
Fixed
more
it.
excited
Sorry.
for.
Keep going.
Oh, okay. I said what I was personally more excited about. Well, actually, I'm very excited for GTA 6, so I can't really say, but the closest that I would say that came close to matching that hype, I suppose, would be Blade, I suppose. But even Blade could
Yeah.
touch GTA for me, being honest.
There were a couple of weird things that I noticed at the Game Awards which really didn't make any sense. They didn't say that Blade was going to be exclusive, even though it's being developed by Arcane. So that stood out to me. And another thing that stood out to me was when Baldur's Gate 3 was shown. They didn't say that it was out on the Xbox store. And it wasn't until Hargeek checked, I think a little bit later, when we're doing the watch party, that it was actually released. And I think that they were two missteps by Microsoft.
No, that was by that was the gentleman. Go ahead, Argy. You about to say it?
Yeah, it's just it turns out that they were supposed to the Larian Studios folks, as they came up and got the award, they were supposed to say that hey, now available on Xbox. It's just that they got rushed, right? For some stupid reason, they were not giving people any time, and so when the music started up to shut up, they just sort of didn't say anything. That part of it was one of the big critiques, though, of the whole show, was they really didn't give a lot of time for the award recipients to actually say anything, right?
Which was
Yeah.
the stupidest part.
Yeah.
Which was the stupidest part, because they made sure to give.
We'll jump back into the awards in like a couple of seconds, because it's just getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. But yeah, look, I apologize to everyone in the chat, because I was having some issues. Realized what it was. I was downloading the update for Call of Duty, so it was just sapping everything on the network. So I shut that down, and it seems to be running sweet now. So apologies for that, guys. I did get it fixed. GTA. I'm getting a lot of pushback in the chat. Are you guys saying, why am I doubting the trailer? Well, because of the physics. I don't know if you watch that trailer. Like, it's not graphical fidelity. I don't have a problem with. Like, absolutely, you can achieve that graphical fidelity at 30 FPS. 110%, no worries, believe in that. But the physics, if they have nailed the physics the way that, go back and watch the trailer, like watch the hair physics, watch the car physics. Like, and people don't look at, I don't know, I look at trailers maybe different sometimes, and I was look really deep into that trailer, slowed it down, had it to half speed, and was just looking at the physics around the characters, the cars, the world, the trees, the weather, like all of that stuff was insanity. Like, I don't know if that's achievable on a console. That's why I'm doubting it. So when you guys are saying in the chat, like, you know, why would you doubt the trailer? It's not because of the graphical fidelity. I absolutely think they'll achieve that. Look at Red Dead, 2. Look at even GTA, I guess, was for its time was ahead of its time, right? So, but the physics to me is like, and the density of the NPCs, and to have all of that happening on screen in an open world game, I don't know if they're going to be able to do that. That's like a lot, right? That's why I'm saying it's.
No, I think that was pretty clear.
A
There was
lot of
an
the
engine.
talk last generation from Rockstar was why they didn't do a GTA last generation is because they didn't think the tech was there to actually improve on what they had already done, and I think that they were waiting for that. So I think they're going to show us something truly special. Will it be as good as the trailer? I don't think so, because I don't think any game's ever as good as the trailer that they show. I mean, that's just been proven time and time again. Do I think it'll look fantastic? Yes, I do.
Do you think they'll match those physics, Hargate? Check, Hargate.
Sorry, I was just unmuting. Look, what I've been hearing in the background is no matter what game so far, we haven't really actually used all the cores that are available. And so if somebody was going to take advantage of the whole system, it'd probably be them, right? So yes, I think it is possible. They've done a lot of crazy things before. There is a lot of power in these boxes that has gone untapped. So it is very viable that they have figured out a way to do it. Look, I've always been expecting that this is going to be the showpiece that's going to showcase what these boxes can do, right? Because they just do it. They somehow make it happen. So I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, if they can pull it off, that it is possible that they can pull it off. It's more interesting to me that it's not coming to PC, and maybe that is part of it. Is like they have the bespoke hardware and they can take advantage of every ounce of power, and then they figure out how to make it work on general PCs later. But yeah, I do think they could probably pull it off.
Yeah. I'm still skeptical, and I remain skeptical just based on like what we've seen. You know, The Division was a great example of like that game looked absolutely amazing, and then the release wasn't quite the same. So I mean, different studios, different results, but we've seen it many times, as Pete said. Blue, do you think we'll get what we were shown, or do you think it'll be maybe a cut down version? Or
First of all, your slander on The Division is unacceptable.
No, well, it was when it was released.
Or
It was a lot of I'm a big Division fan, but when they released Division 1 and they released the trailer, it was like miles different to what they showed. Miles different.
Okay. If you think so. But GTA, I think it'll be just as good, if not better, than what everybody seems to think, just because it comes with so much hype, and they know that, and they take their sweet time. Like, how many times have they released 5? 3 times? Like, just for generational things. And I don't think they're worried. I don't think anybody else should be worried. I think Rockstar just does what they do, and they're good at it. And I don't know, it seems as long as they preserve the company culture that they have, that they'll be just fine. And I haven't heard of any major upsets at Rockstar. Have you?
They had a lot of crunch culture in for Red Dead Redemption 2. So, but I mean,
yeah, but and they've been pretty insulated to everything that's been going on as far as layoffs and losing people unexpectedly, or
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah,
you never hear about anybody buying, thinking about buying them. None of that stuff.
Yeah, Serve. I did fly all over the city. Checked it out heaps, but I did that on a 1080p 32-inch TV that was from the 1970s, so it didn't look as good probably as you saw it. But I'll check it out again. That Matrix down. Umbra, what do you think? Do you think we're going to get what they showed, or do you think it's going to be another case of here's the trailer, crazy, and here's the game, still good, but not quite at where the trailer was at?
I mean, it's going to still be good, but not quite to that level. I mean, you're right about the physics. That right there is no game is doing that just yet. We're not ready for that yet, but it's still going to look represented close enough as far as the visuals of the characters and possibly the density. We'll see how that plays out. I don't know, but visually, as far as things go, I have no doubt with them, especially with seeing how, they handled Red Dead Redemption 2. After I saw that, played through that masterpiece, I was sold. So having technology way more advanced than when they brought that out, I think that they'll absolutely nail that. To me, the biggest thing is not even that for Grand Theft Auto anyway. Like the biggest things they have to nail are the freedom and violence. So as long as they get that down right, and they have a bit of the culture of what Miami is in Vice, and now in Vice City, of course, I think that'll be the overarching bigger points, right? So to me, I think that's the biggest thing they have to nail personally. I don't think, though, like you said, the physics, we're just not there yet for that, to see the twerking. And I know the BBLs were popping in the video, but no, we're not ready for that level of fidelity, if you will. But I enjoyed what I saw. I have different questions, though, concerning Grand Theft, and that's how it works with Lucia and Jason. You saw them highlight the strip club and stuff like that. And we know from past Grand Theft Autos how you can get with let's call them ladies of the night. How would it work in this if you're basically Bonnie and Clyde? Do you get a chance to still do that? Is it something like against Jason's morals to do that against Lucia?
And will there be bears on the stripper poles? Right?
That's the overarching story, but I mean, what GTA has always been magnificent is just giving you a world, an open world playground. That'll just be story mission stuff, just like it was in GTA 5. The world will be completely open to you. I mean, I can't wait to go
but 5 was way
BMXing
different,
and
though. But 5 is different. See, 5 had his wife cucking him already. Like he was not in a serious relationship with his wife, and that, you see what I mean? Michael, at least. Franklin had nobody, and Trevor was just insane. But as far as actually having somebody, Michael was the closest to having a family situation. But his wife was clearly messing around with him. They were blatant about it. So it's a little different.
Tennis guy. They weren't sleeping together. That was tennis lessons, bro. What are you talking about, man?
You'll be the cuck in this situation, wouldn't you, Pete? She's just training, bro. What are you talking about? She's just getting a stroke right.
Getting a stroke right.
Yeah,
look,
I mean,
right.
what you're saying is basically, will Lucia allow her man to basically go see ladies of the night, and because that's part of the story, will that be not allowed in game?
I wonder if you'll be restricted in some way or whatever. I guess you're right. They'll probably allow you to have the freedom.
This all presumes that it would be on the one side and not the other.
Yeah, I mean,
or it could be her doing it. Yeah,
it's true, But here's the thing, I mean, it was a cool little thing to have in there, right? And then you could look, it's horrifically bad. This is not something that we approve of in real life. But then you could beat him up and take the money, right? And that was funny as well. You had a bit of a laugh, right? Cool. But it was a 10-second thing that was there wasn't much to it, right? So I probably did it maybe about 5 times, and then it wasn't a big part of the game for me. But I mean, if it affects the dynamic, it'd be cool if she rocks up. What's the name of the girl, the protagonist? If she rocked up and pulled you out of the car and started slapping you around the back of the head or something, or vice versa, right? That'd be pretty cool. You could add some dynamics into it. But one thing I picked up from the trailer was that it's not going to be. I don't think it's going to be wrapped in cotton wool, I guess we could say. What we were concerned about when we heard about the trailer coming last week, we were hoping that we would get a true GTA experience, not a 2023 PC watered down version. I don't know. Do you guys feel that we're going to get a proper GTA experience?
It'll be watered down, and I think Holly pointed out something great in a message last week in the guest chat. She looked it up in a statement made about GTA 5. Then they released an upgrade. GTA 5. They removed any jokes about any marginalized people. So I think it'll still be GTA, but I think in this day and age you need to
hang on 2 seconds. Let me just jump in here. Dark, you're welcome to never come back here again, bud. If you want to come here and talk shit, you can get the fuck out, mate. I got no time for people like you.
Alucard, mate. We're all
Yeah.
we're all just here to have fun, brother. And Riskit is my fearless leader, brother. I wouldn't want to start my own podcast without him, man.
You're being far too nice.
Alucard,
Pete.
come on, brother.
Dark
We go
Lord
together,
of
man.
Lou.
Just be nice to everyone, bro.
Go kiss somebody's ass. Get out of here with that. You're being way too nice, Pete. That was unnecessary to even write what he wrote. Well, what's the use of
He's
saying
always
something like
to me,
that?
mate.
No, he's always been an ass. That right there is unnecessary.
Yeah, get your ass out. Don't come back, bud. You ain't fucking welcome. Anyway, back to what we're talking about. GTA 6. You think it'll be watered down, Pete? Man, I don't know. I didn't see that in the trailer. I sort of saw it as, you got twerking on top of a car.
I didn't see it in the trailer at all. Yeah, look, but I mean, that's honestly, that is Miami life. Like, that's, I mean, look, if you look at the trailer, I love the little fucking chihuahua running down the beach with the buffed out guy and the chick, and then the guy making a TikTok video, I'm guessing, with his girlfriend, with her twerking. Like, that's all real life stuff that happens, like, in, day-to-day life. I get that, but when it comes to more marginalized people in society, there is definitely a big pushback now to not make jokes about things like that. So, look, I don't know. I hope they go the South Park route and just make fun of everybody. I think self-deprecation is what is so funny about South Park. It doesn't matter who you are, what you are. It doesn't really matter. They'll make fun of everything, and I think that really works. But I do think that there will be a lot of pushback. There's always pushback on GTA games. I mean, GTA is one of those games that permeates outside of gaming culture and enters the 6 o'clock news. I remember, in Australia when GTA 3 released and you could rob prostitutes. That was, cut out of the Australian version of the game. You couldn't do that because, like, they revved it up, they talked it up so much on the news and outside of gaming circles that was removed and stricken from the game. And I just I don't want them to get into a situation where they get themselves banned or blacklisted or anything can hurt or detriment like the gaming industry as a whole. And I think they need to be a little bit aware of that.
No, they don't. No, completely disagree. No. They should not be worrying about being cancelled when you're making a video game. No, definitely not.
You know what I think about this whole situation. I think that everyone should be, equally made fun of. I make fun of myself more than I make fun of anybody else. Self-deprecation humor, I think, is great. And I think it shows a lot about your personality when you get things like that. And I don't believe in marginalized people. I just think that whole thing is just ridiculous. There are no marginalized people. Everybody's just a person. That's it.
Let's not get in.
It doesn't matter what you are.
But
let's not get into that conversation. But I would definitely say that,
though, I'll agree with the whole woke thing. The whole woke thing people keep chiming on. That's one of the things I was happy to see, that it doesn't seem like it's
going to be in there.
To.
Yeah, if you're going to get cancelled for satire, man, like satire is satire, and what Pete said, like, you should be able to make fun of anything. Like, I don't think there's like a limit on what you should be able to make fun of, as long as it's in fun, in jest, and not, like there's a way to do satire, very Aussie satire. That's sort of tasteful, or I guess, or acceptable, right?
Satya Nadella.
Satya Nadella.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've seen what's happened with The Simpsons, with the poo completely being removed, and things like that. Look, I hope they don't go the Simpsons route. I hope they go the South Park route. It remains to be seen, but regardless, I think GTA 6 is going to take gaming to another level. It's going to be one of those games that's going to live on for a generation, and I'm so excited to play it. I mean, more so than, this, because I think that this conversation can get a little bit, out of hand sometimes, is the art style, the Vice City itself, the look of the city, the look of the two protagonists, Lucia and Jason. We haven't been confirmed that his name is Jason yet, but from
I think they
all
confirmed it.
previous reports, oh, did they? Yeah, from all
Yeah.
previous reports, it does sound like that's going to be the name. I think they both look amazing. I think the whole Bonnie and Clyde aspect is going to make for a fantastic narrative. I really, really do. A lot of the old haunts are back. I think the hotel, which was your first hub world in GTA Vice City, is making a comeback, albeit having a bit of an like it's got a better, neon sign. So they're definitely harking back to some of the things we saw in GTA Vice City, which I love. Yeah, look, and it looks like that they are making fun of all culture, especially TikTok culture. It seems to me that they're heavily leaning into TikTok culture and how fake it is.
Social media and all
and
that.
I think that
Definitely.
I think that that'll be really, really funny. I cannot wait for this game.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. As long as they go hard, I want to say they went hard on the last one, and they didn't pull any punches, and I like that. And I feel like the girl, I can't remember her name because I won't. But I think she's
Lucia, bro.
Okay, Lucia. I
Lucia?
think she's.
Oh.
I think she's gonna be a Trevor character. I don't know. Who's ducking me. Who's ducking me?
I'm dying over here. Me.
All right, cool.
I just didn't think of it till now.
We'll move on to the next topic, and thank God Dark Lord of Lou is out of the chat. He is an absolute knobstick, and he can kiss my red, hairy ass. Before we do move on to the next topic, please hit the like button if you like red, hairy asses. We go live at 7 p.m. EST. If you're in the US every week, and if you're in Australia, it's 11 a.m. on the East Coast, and on the West Coast, best coast, it is 8 a.m. Next topic's got to be that little game that released on Nintendo. I can't remember what it was called. No, kidding. Game Awards. Got to talk about the Game Awards. This was this is probably one of the. I think he's nailed it. I think he actually nailed it. Like every other Game Awards has been something sort of egregious, and I agree with you, Hargeet, and what you guys are talking about. They didn't give the awards enough time, but I think he's pretty close to nailing it. He acknowledged that one critique. I personally don't think it was too long. I think it had a good mix of the discussions with the devs, the awards, the first looks, the announcements, the DLCs, the extra. I think it was just a great mix of absolutely everything. It's a real pity that we didn't get to see any Hellblade 2 combat. So that was unfortunate. That didn't exist. So
you think you would get away with that, huh?
Right. Uh-huh. I guess Riskit was watching the one from a couple of years ago.
It didn't.
Not the one that happened yesterday.
It hasn't happened.
He's watching 2020.
I didn't see it. I didn't see it. Didn't happen. If I didn't see it, it didn't happen.
That's all right.
So me and Umbra
I'll be taking that kneecap. Give you a nice cane.
So me and Umbra had a little bit of a friendly bet behind the scenes about whether they would be showing Hellblade and Hellblade combat. And it's very clear. I mean, I was on the side of right once again. I was of the opinion that they wouldn't show Hellblade 2 or any combat,
And
so I mean,
they did.
Clearly I nailed that.
Combat.
You mean the side of self-righteousness? But you missed it. Yeah, you messed up.
I clearly nailed that. Ab's got it absolutely right. So moving on. No. Yeah, look, they did show it. I definitely got to give up my kneecap, unfortunately.
They're claiming there's no audio risk.
No audio again, Risk. Audio's
Uh-oh.
gone, brother.
Riskit's audio's gone.
Goddamn son
Is
of
it
a
for
mother!
everyone or
No.
just Riskit?
I don't know if it's just Risk or if it's everyone.
Yeah,
but,
it's
there's
fucking
few
audio.
people.
I'm swearing a lot this week. Look, so what I was saying was, we saw the combats up on screen right now, and to me it looked like it had a little bit of jank, or it might be there was a lot of quick time events, QTEs, or they just seemed a little bit not quite as fluid. That's the word I was looking for. So apologies, guys. OBS, change the settings again.
Are we back? Are we good?
Yeah, we're absolutely back. Yeah.
Yeah, we're back.
Okay. Yeah, so if you've played 1, this is how 1 was, right? So it's not. So there's no prompts. There's no HUD or anything, right? You just have to know that you have to hit certain buttons to do the actions. So the jank that you're seeing is really just the decisions of the person playing. Okay, now I'm gonna hit, right? And so that's what that is. So this is exactly what I was looking for. Was I want to see the combat. How does it look? How does it feel? It is very much like the first one, but it's a little bit more in depth, and you do have the dodging and stuff that they were showing. So yeah, this is exactly what I was looking for. It still has story elements, so they didn't just say, "Hey, just look at us fighting." We're gonna show you an actual trailer, and then you get to see actual fighting with it, right? So it's pretty cool. To me, this exactly did what I wanted. I wanted to see the fighting, plus why are we going to play this game? And it has a lot of variations of things that are happening. So I liked it. I liked it overall. It was very interesting when they had that musical come up. I'm like, wait, this is not normal. I don't remember ever having, hey, we're going to do a musical thing for a game that hasn't come out, that isn't part of one of the awards that nominations that are coming up, right? So it was interesting that they did that, and then suddenly we see this nice trailer, right? So I thought it was pretty cool. This is one of the bigger ones for them, and it's announced for 2024. They didn't tie it down to a month, which I think is probably a good thing. I think basically that means it's not coming within the first quarter or so, because if it was, then it would give an actual date. I think Microsoft's kind of learned that if we're not really tied down right now, we're not going to give you a date because it could slip. We'll just kind of tell you it's in a range, right? So, so pretty cool. So overall, I was happy with what they showed.
Yeah. So let's go. I just want to track back to what
you need to give your knees.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'll have to hand over my left kneecap. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough faith that I was offering the right one. So, left's all right. I can hop around on the right. But tracking back to what you're saying, the first one was like that. There was no button prompts. There was no QTEs. But I mean, if you go, I would want to go back and have a look at it, but I won't. But there's parts where she's grabbing and throwing, and just a couple of stop sections where she sort of pulled down his arm and shoved the sword through his head. And I feel like that was my complaint with Spider-Man. You lose control of the player because of the animations and the special moves too often. And I'm sort of feeling like that's a little bit, they've gone a little bit that route. I mean, it's not a huge complaint if that's the case, but I do like to have the skill like Hargeet in the first one. It was you sort of had to watch your opponent to pick the time to go for the hit, right? So,
yep.
I don't know. I'm not seeing it be exactly the same with this one. You think that's the route they're going? You don't think you didn't see any sections there where they were sort of taking play away from the player?
You won't
Not
know
really.
till you get hands on.
Yeah, exactly, right. Until we get there, we won't know the exacts. But to your point, it could just be at certain enemies you don't have to do that, and certain enemies you do have to do that, right? They were trying to make the actual fighting part a little bit more fun, right? That was kind of the thing with the first one. It was a little, I don't know, it was a little lackluster, that part of it, right? There was a lot of puzzly things, but the fighting was it was okay. And that was one of the things they're trying to expand. And maybe this is just the direction they went in. And until we play it, until we actually have it in our hands, we're not going to know exactly if it worked or not. But at least you get to see what the action is like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not as precise as the other one, but we'll see.
Yeah, because the other one was precise, and that's what I liked. You go, Pete, you're up.
Yeah, sorry. I was just going to say, back in 2022, Juan Fernandez, one of the guys that worked on the combat, he was actually the combat designer, pointed out that 15 people worked on Hellblade 1. Obviously, this has been stepped up a lot, so I have no doubt that this was going to be heavily focused. And from what I saw, it was visceral, it was bloody, it was violent, it was everything I wanted it to see. It's, all the things that they were showing, with the schizophrenia, like, actually put out into combat. Did I think it looked a little bit slow, a little bit janky? Yes, but that's the style of the game. I mean, that's exactly what number 1 was like. I don't think we're going to know the absolute answer to that until we get hands-on, but I believe in this team. I believe in Ninja Theory. I think they're going to make something truly special, and what I love most is they listen to the community. The community has been crying out for them to show combat. They showed combat. I think the game showed incredibly well. It was one of the standouts for me, and I can't wait to play it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, I'm not trying to take anything away from it when I say, that's in there. That's not my preference as a player, and I don't think it ruins the game or anything. Like Spider-Man 2 was great with that stuff in there. I would prefer to be completely in control. Dark Lord, honestly, why are you such a knob? I mean, anyway. Blue, I want to know how are you feeling about Hellblade? Did you play the first one? Because I know a lot of people haven't played the first one. I did play the first one. Loved it. Had some complaints, like there was some things in that game that could have been improved upon, but as Pete said, it's only 15 developers. So, but it was really special for what was at the time an indie game, and beautiful as well. So, yeah, Blue, I mean, what are your thoughts? Did you play the first one? And what do you think this second one's, the combat? Where are you at?
Yeah, I played the first one. I did not finish it because I did get frustrated with it. But visually, just jaw-dropping, right? This when I think of fidelity in a video game, this is just about one of the top tier that pop into my head. I am not sure how well the combat is going to go over with a lot of the community. I know that's the big complaint from before. I think that they've definitely put a lot of effort into improving it, but I also think that they have a vision for it, right? And they want it to be a certain way to connect with the game in a certain way. And there's probably, in my thought process, is probably they're looking for a way to sort of blend the improvements, but still stay true to what they're thinking that it should be. But I mean, I'm looking forward to playing this, and I can't imagine a Game Awards where she is not winning the best performance, because it's amazing. She's so good at this role. Just feels like she puts everything into it, and it's really pretty cool.
Yeah, actually, just on that, like, you bring up a good point. Like, I was actually a little bit stunned that I forget her name, but the lead role in Alan
Melina,
Wake,
right? Melina?
Do not know how she did not win. I mean, I haven't played Baldur's Gate, so I was a bit surprised, like, that she didn't win it. I really thought she should have won it. Like, she was awesome in Alan Wake 2. Like, absolutely nailed it. Like, and there was a lot of time, you spend a lot of time with her in a like headroom, that I can't remember what they call it now. Finished the game, forgot about it.
That's a different actress, right?
You're talking about the one that played Saga?
Yeah, the one that played Saga. Yeah. It's I was pivoting because, like, I was surprised that she didn't get that award. Like, yeah. Melina, like, she's obviously not up for the award this year, but like the girl from Alan Wake 2, like, I thought she was definitely going to win that, like, hands down. Bit surprised, so I'd be interested to see what Baldur's Gate's like. I know Hargeet loves it. He's always talking about it. Says it's
right.
Probably the game of the generation, I believe.
I love it. Wait, just real fast. I love that Neil Knight. What is his name? His last name is Newbon, right? But anyway, I love that he also came up on stage dressed like a vampire. That just cracked me up, right? I was like, that's so vampire. He's a vampire.
Are you talking about Dinga?
No. The guy that won Best Performance for Baldur's Gate.
Oh,
yeah,
the guy
yeah.
with the I called it the samurai
Yeah,
fit.
yeah,
I know
yeah.
what you're
Yeah.
talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. They were
It's just like it reeked Interview with a Vampire, and it was great, and I loved it.
they were all really
That's
cool
perfect.
because
And
they
even when they won Game of the Year, right? The guy that comes up in the whole suit of armor, it's
Right.
flipping fantastic.
yeah, it's cool,
The way
man.
they
That
cut him off, though.
they rolled up sort of in character of their own game to the Game Awards. But
Mhm.
Umbra, same question to you. Like, what did you think of the compat? Where are you at? What are your thoughts on Hellblade 2? Do you think it's looking the goods and where it's going where we want it to go, or do you think that they may have been a little bit extra?
Yeah, no, I think they got it right. I think Hargeet got it right. Mostly, it's just it's very reminiscent of part one. When I saw it, I was like, okay, yeah, part one, but probably more refined. I'm guessing they'll have more because if you all remember, they brought in a combat. I don't want to say specialist. They brought in somebody who specializes in.
It was the
I don't
combat
wanna say-
specialist. Yeah.
But I don't want to say combat specialist, right? Because it sounds like somebody actually doing combat like themselves versus me talking about somebody programming the game. That's why I was saying it that way. But
Yeah.
I guess they probably did both, though, right? But because they did train her more, so I guess that fits.
Yeah,
But
and they got a lot of
regardless-
CGI and captured a lot of footage of that guy
Yeah.
doing those move sets and stuff. Really, really cool stuff.
Yeah, I mean, so I think that it's going to be improved because of that already. I'm thinking about timing Bushido out. I mean, I don't know if I should or not, but I'm very tempted. I'll wait till you get here to Chicago and correct your attitude, Mr. Bushido. But
Time him out in real life.
yes, in real life, permanently timed out. But yeah, I thought the combat looked really good. Like you said, visceral, very gory. That's what we expect. And the way she like stabbed the guy in the neck and everything, like it looks like it's going to be really serious, dark, and everything that I expected it to be. We don't know enough because we have to see more. It was kind of limited, to be fair. Which I know you were hoping that it would be, so you wouldn't lose your kneecap. But alas.
So you're admitting that there wasn't
yeah.
really combat. That's so like the knee is still mine to keep. We could meet in the middle somewhere, right? When no one gives up
No.
the knees, right? Right?
No. I know that you're looking for some escape, but there is no refuge for you here. No, I thought it was limited, but it was more than enough for us, right? So that's the good thing. But like Hargeet, I think he hit it on the head. I think it's just playing off part one and how they handled it. It was no there was no hood or anything like that. You just had to react and block and counter and when you needed to and swing when you needed to. And she's moving the way she should. I mean, she has a broadsword swinging that thing, and she's not some gigantic dude. She should be moving heavily with it and swinging wildly the way she swings and such. She's not going to have the exact precision to be all, I guess playing like she's playing Devil May Cry or something like that, but I thought it was really solid. We just have to see more. But no, I was more than happy with what I saw. Visually, by the way, just stunning game. And again, showing why Unreal Engine 5 is just, the bee's knees.
Well,
Fun
if
right there, right? Right.
if it runs
With
in
the knee.
60, if it runs in 60, we can definitely have that conversation. But like, if it runs in 30, I'm going to be a little bit disappointed. But apparently,
You all
there's a
think they'll hit
PS.
60?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm hoping that they'll have two modes. Like, I really think at this point in the generation, the hardcore gamers, the casual gamers, we've made it very clear that, I mean, obviously it doesn't affect sales, but I think we've all made it very clear throughout the community that we would like the option, right? And I don't think that's too hard to do. Maybe because if you get to a point where the physics are so baked into the game that it may stop that from happening, and we seem to be getting a lot of CPU bottlenecks in games, but I don't know. Like, I think they should offer a 60 mode, especially when you're playing, a game. If the combat is the way that we believe it to be, and you need to be concentrating on your opponent, and you don't have, prompts or anything, then that you want that fluidity so that you make those moves with precision, as much precision as possible, right? I don't know. I hope they do.
Yeah.
I'd like to see him do it.
Yeah.
But listen,
Yeah,
I've
look,
got
with the combat, I agree 100%, man. yeah, with a combat-driven game, it definitely should have an option for 60. And I think that game is so visceral in terms of like the audio performance that they're going for, that I think you can downgrade the visuals a little bit and still get away with what they're actually trying to portray.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw what he said.
Yeah.
Yes, read it out loud, Riskit. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was looking at Idle Sloth who was saying gave Infinite Umbra your knees. It has been decided. I don't know what Bushy's saying.
That's what I was talking about. No, that's
what
I was talking about.
Ignore it.
I see Bushido in the chat. That's codename Beautiful. Look, I want to pivot slightly, and you guys may not have known I was going to pivot to this, but there was one game that was probably my absolute standout of the show, and it wasn't Blade. It definitely wasn't Blade. And I have been waiting for this studio to see what they come with next, and I just was not disappointed. I've dropped the video in the private Discord chat, guys, because I know that you can't see it real time as I play it on screen. But this one right here, I'm going to bring it up for everyone so they can check it out. The game's called No Rest for the Wicked. It's made by Moon Studios, the makers of Ori, and it looked absolutely sensational, man. Exactly up my alley, except this time they've gone with a real darker mode, a more, I think, mystical sort of mode. It looked absolutely amazing. This was my absolute standout. Really, really love this, and it was good to see them coming back. I would have loved an Ori 3, but I really was not disappointed. It's sort of it looks to be that they've expanded on their side scrolling. No, Xbox did not own Arthur One Moon Studios. They worked in collaboration. They own the IP for Ori, though. So it's very unlikely that we'll see another Ori. But this one looks like they've expanded on the side-scrolling and gone more of a top-down sort of 3D world, mystical, magical. And it looks like it might be multiplayer. I'm not 110% like on that. I haven't been able to find any information. It's a possibility, but it's also got some sort of From Software sort of feel to it, like with the fantasy style as well. This for me was like, oh yeah, can't wait. And this is coming out in March of next year. So I'm super excited to see this one. I don't know if you guys got a chance to check this one out, or if this one caught your eye, or if you was like at all interested. But Umbra, what were your thoughts if you did get a chance to check her out?
Well, they've been talking about this action RPG for years. Back when I was even a part of, what's the name of that? The one after that, Reset Era, trash site, by the way. They were talking about it on there because I think the game director or somebody that worked on it talked about it in there. Literally, they were in that chat and mentioned, we're working on an action RPG. That was like 4 or 5 years ago, maybe longer. So to finally see it and surprise, like, too, the way they just dropped it out here, I was like, wow. When I saw the moons and they circled around it, the planet or whatever, I was like, oh yes. And I knew it was an action RPG. I just didn't know the name of it. So that right there was actually one of my biggest surprises and like most hyped for games of the show too. It wasn't the top, but it was definitely in the top 4 or 5, I guess. It's really maybe 3, because it does look really solid. I agree with you. Like, do you see the flora and fauna and everything moving around all nice? You know they're going to give you great visuals. You know they're going to give you great gameplay. But it looks like also they're going to give you a solid story this time outside of just, I guess, emotion, right? Because Ori played on emotion. You didn't hear the characters talk or anything like that, but you were, it insinuated what was happening and everything. This looks like you're going to have actual dialogue. So I'm interested in seeing how they're going to approach it there. It does have a darker, more serious tone to it. And like you said, it has that top-down kind of isometric thing going for it, a la, Diablo or something like that. So I'm interested in seeing how they handle all of that, how abilities work and things like that or whatever. Definitely hype for that. One of the best ones shown for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, it's in my top 3. Probably the standout for me. There's another one, but I want to go through everyone's standouts, but talk about each person's standouts for a little bit as well. So, Hargeet, what were your thoughts on No Rest for the Wicked? I mean, looks solid, right?
It looks good, and I mean, if people haven't played Ori 1 and 2, I don't know how much I can give away, but I don't think there's going to be a 3. I'll just say that.
Mhm.
There's kind of a finality that
There's
happens
definitely
at
not
the
going to
end
be
of
a
2.
3. They've said not.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, this looked good. Dude, this show was phenomenal. I know there were some people who didn't like some of the things. I mean, they're smaller games, but there were a lot of big games announced from some big people, right? So it was pretty cool to see a lot of new things coming out. And yeah, this was one of them. Like, okay, this is the next thing they're doing. It looks like it'll be fun, right? So, there were plenty of other ones too that looked like they would be pretty good as well, along with what Sega did and with what Xbox did. I thought it was a very good overall show. But yeah, this was another cool one. But yeah, Sega was the one that really stood out outside of Xbox. With like, hey, we're gonna take all our old stuff and we're making it new. Like, here's a whole bunch of like videos of things that we're doing. Like, wow, that was pretty cool.
Right? Yeah. You was Shinobi Golden Axe. Crazy Taxi. And there was another one.
Streets of Rage.
Streets of Rage. Yeah, and Jet Set Radio. Yeah, the rumors are true. Yeah. Oh man, that looked absolutely amazing as well. So I mean, that's your standout, the Sega.
There were so many of them; it's hard to pick just one. But with Sega giving you they gave you 5 out of like maybe 10 that they're working on, right? So if you go read some other articles, there's even more stuff happening, and like that is probably the outside of Xbox. I think that was the other big. Announced was like, hey, we're going back through our catalog and we're going to be bringing out a whole bunch of games. So that was pretty cool. But again, there were so many other ones that looked really cool too. We're getting close to having Black Myth Wukong, Rise of the Ronin on the PlayStation side looked pretty good, right? There was Banishers, which also looks kind of interesting.
Yeah, I've been watching that for a while.
Yeah, there was one from the person who left Rockstar. I can't remember the name of the game, but that also didn't look too bad. There's just several of those, right? So there were a lot of different ones that looked good. But I like, just from a standout perspective, Sega stood out like, hey, all these games, and here you go. Here's some snippets of what they're going to look like. That was pretty cool.
And Golden Axe looked cool. I mean, that's yeah, straight to my nostalgia bone, that one. I was like, oh, Golden Axe. I never finished the game. It was too hard. It was in the arcade. So, you run out of 20-cent pieces. Well, for us, 20-cent pieces. Then that's it. Game over. Blue, what'd you think of, first of all, No Rest for the Wicked? And then I guess we'll get your standout. What stood out for you?
No Rest for the Wicked looked really interesting. It's way different than Ori was, although still kind of got that color palette, I would say. Definitely something that I'm interested in checking out. And I agree, I do love the way Sega did their drop, because it puts a lot less pressure on them by just being like, look, all these are coming. Bye, right? I thought it was really cool. But I mean, for me, there was this tiny little game that was announced in the pre-show called Pony Island 2. The shout out to Bobby Hawk. But it's Pony Island 2 Panda Circus, and I'd literally never seen anything about the first game, but today I instantly went to Steam, and it's 74 cents for the original Pony Island 1. So I was like, of course I'm buying it for 74 cents. I think I can afford that. Let's go, right? It looks freaking crazy. It's this weird, super wild, like 2D survival horror puzzle goofy thing. Harky, did you see this? Have you played the first one? Because I know you played.
I have not played the first one, but I looked at it and said, "Oh my gosh, that's the biggest joke game I'm gonna use." Oh, so my standout was Pony Island 2, the survival of PlayStation.
For the name. I'm the one who like baby steps. I'm the one who's like Pony Island 2 looks awesome, and because it reminds me of Undertale a little bit too, I think, right? And I love Undertale, but it's really it's just crazy. It looks like pandemonium, and I'm here for it.
Yeah,
But
to
of
your
course,
point, I'm being really like smug about it, but I'm sure it is actually. I'm sure it's a good game, but and I should be more fair to it. But it's just so funny to me.
the name. The name. How do you name something like that and it not
Pony
be a
Island.
giant joke, right?
In
Yes.
the gaming world.
Yes, it's gonna be like my meme everywhere, right? But for me, of course, like Blade is just my ultra mega like dumb excited moment. I couldn't even talk right. I was like, Blade Glaive, like because I am an Arcane junkie. They're my favorite. I freaking love Arcane and Blade.
Mhm.
Bro, Blade is like that's my dude, and probably like top 3 superhero kind of thing of all time. The Daywalker thing is just it's legit, and
Have we got no
just
sound
the
again?
combination of
Michael's
those
saying
two
no
things.
sound.
No, we got sound. You're right. Keep going. You're right, Blue. Keep going.
The combination of Arcane and Blade on Xbox as an exclusive, which apparently Xbox doesn't want to say, is just it's the tripod, it's the trifecta, right?
The tripod.
It's the tentpole moment.
Pause.
You know where your mind is at.
Yikes.
Yeah, black man being a vampire. We know exactly where your mind went to, Holly.
Look,
okay, Umbra.
I
do
Pony
have
Island
to say
game, though,
that's
was so
very odd.
weird.
It's very odd that that Xbox didn't or Arcane didn't just drop the exclusive badge or the platforms on their Blade trailer. That was odd. I found that weird.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
It's been all over Twitter all day. People fighting about that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? The thing that I think that makes the most sense, because it's not the first time they've done this, but I think they're probably purposely doing that to keep it in talks. Like, somebody even pointed that out. Like, I think they're doing this to keep drumming up attention to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Keep drumming attention. But like, we know that
the FTC case is ongoing now too. The FTC cases, and they don't want to necessarily draw attention. I personally don't think that's that big a deal, but yeah, I don't either. But it doesn't mean that it might not be, a penny on a dollar of a thought there.
Yeah, I think it has more to do with the timing. Like, the game is just starting development. It's likely going to take 4 to 5 more years. And if it's going to be in that range, they don't know if it's a Xbox Series console game or if it's the next gen game. And it's better to just not tie it down, right? So just leave it open. Now, they could have put like an Xbox logo on there. They could have put a Steam logo on there or something like that. But I think
Game
they just
Pass.
left it open. Like, yeah, they just left it open, and like it's still going to be an Xbox game, right? But it's really, we don't know which console gen it's going to be, and what things look like. So that's it. They just left it's 4 or 5 years out. That's a long time, right? And I think that's really all it is. This is a teaser for a game that's going to be a while. Like, I wouldn't expect this to be something that happens in the next year or two.
Why do you think it's that far out?
They said they just started development, right? They actually said that. So this is just starting to develop. Yeah. So at most, we're looking at a year, right, of development work. So given the normal time for AAA games, it's usually 5 years and sometimes longer. So I'm just putting it out. It's going to be a 27, 28 game. And to me, it sounds like this would be a perfect launch window game for their next console, right? So I think they're just leaving it open, right? They've had a lot of delays, and they're just making sure they don't, tie it down to, we're guaranteeing this is going to come on the series. They don't know that, right? So whatever the next console is, it might be a launch game for that.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Wait,
could be the case
Harky, do you think that there's any? The thought float through my head about Marvel maybe not wanting to tie it down to one console. We know obviously that Sony just owns the rights to Spider-Man. Okay.
No, they don't, because Ultimate Alliance has Spider-Man, and it was on Switch, if I remember right. So,
but those are renewable rights, right? They have to they own they buy specific rights for a certain time period, right? Isn't that how that works?
So Sony owns the rights. Well, Sony has licensed the rights. Ultimately, Marvel owns
Right.
Spider-Man, right? But Sony has
Right,
licensed
correct,
the right
right.
for movies for Spider-Man, right? And they leveraged
Correct.
that because Marvel wanted it back, Disney wanted it back for the MCU, and they said,
Yep.
"Fine, we'll do that, and then we'll license out some of our properties to you to make for games." I do not believe it's exclusive though, because you can get some of those. Like Spider-Man is on other consoles
Through like
with
the
games that have
Avengers
come out
game,
since
or
then.
yeah.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
I don't think it's
Yeah,
going to be lost.
true.
They did make an additional deal with Square to take Spider-Man in Marvel's Avengers and make that also console exclusive to PlayStation. And I think it's actually not even on PC, right? But and that was a choice. They decided to do that just because Square and them had been in that, like, hey, we're gonna make some exclusivity deals, right? But outside of that, I don't think that's the case. This will be a test, right? There's a huge potential here now that the licensing thing has opened up, right? That if that's an option, are there other licensed things that can happen, right? So there was Disney reaching out after the ABK thing was getting close to say, hey, you have a whole bunch of games that Activision has that that are licensed that are no longer licensed. Let's talk about expanding that so that you can have that license back. And I wonder if that's part of this, that they just said, okay, cool, let's add the ability, and we got to terms here that Phil is okay with, where they can actually go get some licenses and do other stuff. KOTOR comes to mind. That's a game that's been in development hell now, right, with Embracer and Aspire, and that's a potential that they could just say, hey, we have Obsidian. Let's bring it over. If we can take the license, let's get it, and let's do a KOTOR remake, a KOTOR 2 remake. Maybe even do a KOTOR 3, right? And there's many other potentials. There's so many Activision games that were in the Marvel universe. They could bring those back and start expanding that, right? And have studios make those. But anyways, for this specific one where they didn't have the specific Game Pass and Xbox Series, I think it's just really just that. It's just so far out. They're like, let's just leave it open. We'll figure out what console it ends up on. It's obviously going to be an Xbox game. It's an Xbox game.
I think it's either that,
So
like
I
you
don't see
said,
that's a
or
problem.
the fact it's either one of the two things. It's either, like you said, a next gen console, or they just want to play up on it. Like, oh, will it be on this or will it not be? Because they've done it before, right?
Stir the
But
controversy.
I think it's more
Absolutely.
play. Yeah.
Play into
Because they
that.
could have
But
said coming to Xbox platforms,
Mhm.
Xbox platforms, period,
In a little
right?
blurb,
Or anywhere
I think in the
Xbox
blurb,
is
though,
playable, right? They could have done that.
But I think in the blurb
I
they
just-
said like coming to Series XS and PC. I think it did say that, but there's no specific branding for only on Xbox or exclusive, right? There's
Yeah.
nothing like that. That's the problem.
I mean,
just-
did you
It didn't,
need
though.
to do that though? I mean,
It didn't say any of that. Like, so like the screen was like Arcane. It was Arcane Leon. Had no Xbox branding at all.
No,
like
I mean
nothing.
after the fact. Like
Okay.
yeah, after the fact, I'm saying it was like a little news blurb saying where you can find it at, and it said Xbox Series S and X and PC, but it didn't say it was exclusive or anything. It didn't have those words or anything like that. It didn't have the branding, and openly, like you said, it didn't have any branding. So, but I think Hargidis is largely right. It's possibly more the case that they're only starting on it now. Although somebody conflicted and said they been working on it for a year. So, but I think the biggest case is that it might not even hit this gen. So that could be the case. But going to your point, Hargeet, one of the things that I said earlier on Boom's show was that I think this opens up the door for more licensed games, especially if this lands right.
Punisher.
So that's
Ghost
Punisher.
Well,
Exactly.
we already had
Daredevil.
Indiana
Ghost
Jones
Rider.
as well. What about Indiana Jones? Has there been any announcement if that's going to be exclusive as well? I think that'll point in the direction of which way that they
It
go.
came out of the court
Yeah,
case that's going to be exclusive.
The court
they paid
case
for
did
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they paid for
So,
it.
but that's a prime
They
example. That's a
specifically made
prime
it
example
exclusive.
where they didn't say that, right? That's a prime example where they didn't do it. Like in
But it was
pixels that too.
already.
Yeah.
They'd started that though before the acquisition had finalized with Bethesda.
Right. He called it
Right.
Yeah,
Indian
that's
Jones.
true.
Indian Jones is a different hero. Pixel. I'm joking.
I would dare say that this is
Indian
going to be
Jones.
exclusive, and it doesn't actually need to be announced. I mean, Arcane is now part of Xbox under Bethesda's umbrella, and I think it will be an exclusive. And I'm just really happy that, like Hargeet, we were talking about it yesterday, that they are licensing IPs now. I mean, that was something that Phil Spencer would have been against in the past. He thought that they had enough IPs in the background that could be made. But we've always been talking about the fact that Sony has Spider-Man and these big name games which draws the casuals onto their console. And although Blade isn't as big as Spider-Man, nor Indiana Jones, depending on which demographic you come from, I think it does open the door now to, those games being seen into the future. And I think I talked to him about with Riskit the other day. What's the go with KOTOR now? Like, can maybe Xbox, with all the problems that's going on in the background, can Xbox maybe step in and be that game's savior? Yeah, really just open up a lot of things going forward, which are only positive for Xbox.
Sorry.
Well, all to say,
First we gonna rock, then we gonna roll.
And we gonna roll.
Go, baby, go. X gonna give it to you.
Give it to you. Sorry. But the issue though too is just like, because we've been through 2 acquisitions now, right? When in a time when Xbox actually is starting to have games. Now we're like showing all of this, forward momentum. All the ambiguity that happened with Bethesda, right? Because that was the first big thing, and nobody really knew, and they wouldn't just say, and on and on and on. People got a little fatigued, and then Activision brings up a whole different realm of issues, right? Because those games are very different tier, all over the place, right? So then the whole thing starts all over again, and now here we are with a major IP that's coming from the Marvel universe. And as Xbox people, we tend to think, well, of course it's going to be exclusive. Why wouldn't it be, right? But it's just the ambiguity that comes with a lot of the Xbox marketing sometimes gets frustrating. It really does. It's just like, just say it, right? Just shut it down. Like, look how many months we're asking all the time, right? Like, just say, is this exclusive or not, right? Is it exclusive? And they're always very careful to kind of beat around the bush or just say it's coming to where Game Pass is. And I mean, that's probably a bigger issue of trying to force the idea of other platforms wanting Game Pass to be, a tile that can be opened and go play Game Pass games, right? But they have, I think they really, it would be nice if they would just be more direct, more often on, this is a Game Pass or this is an Xbox game exclusively. If you would like to play it, please feel free to play it anywhere where you can access Game Pass and use it. You know what I mean? Like, not just, I don't know. It just gets a little tiring.
I mean,
to have this whole conversation over and over again, right?
The other thing to think about is that in the background, maybe they're having these conversations with Bethesda, and Bethesda's, maybe pushing back, and they may not have had it come to a decision yet. There's licensing, and then there's a discussion between Xbox and Bethesda about, is this one going to be exclusive? Because he did. He made it pretty clear this is about bringing great exclusives to platforms where Game Pass exists, but they've also said many times as well that it's a game-by-game basis. So it doesn't mean 110% that it is going to be exclusive. Maybe that's a conversation they're having with Bethesda, because we saw Heinz's reaction. He's not with the company anymore, but maybe there's that sentiment within Bethesda. It's like, we still want some of our games to be multi-plat too. So, that's a consideration as well. Hargeet, sorry, I cut you off there.
Yeah. Look, most of their trailers don't show the like. So if you look at Overdose, for instance, does it show that it's on Xbox Series consoles only? I don't think it did, but that doesn't matter. We know it's an Xbox exclusive. That's just the way it is, right? I think like normally you just expect that when a platform is showing you something that it's going to be on their platform, right? But we just have this thing with Xbox where it's iffy, and it's
because they haven't had anything to have on the platform.
Maybe that's fair. Maybe that's fair, right? And but ultimately, I just don't think this is something that I think people are reading too much into it. It's a platform holder telling you about a game, and that platform holder is obviously going to make it exclusive. That's just the way I see it. There would be no reason for them not to.
OD had the Xbox banner.
They're
and you could
they're
say that,
non.
but like, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead. No, I was just gonna say their non-organic growth has led to people saying, "Well, I had it before, so will I have
Blade's
it? Will I
brand
have
new,
other
right?
ones in the future?" Right?
Yep, but I mean that's
Yeah.
that's
Well,
that's
yes.
that's sort of mute as well, because when you think about it, like
PlayStation's
PlayStation's bought up a lot of studios, and as soon as they buy up a studio, there's no like discussion around whether this is going to be exclusive. It's just we know it
On
is.
Xbox side of things.
That's
By
exactly
the way,
right.
Serve hit it on
but
the head too,
PlayStation
though. By
shut
the
it
way,
down immediately. They will always say PlayStation exclusive, like on everything that's there.
True.
So I think
Yeah.
Paul is right. I think the ambiguity needs to be taken out of it. The Kojima game, like I mean, Kojima has always been associated with PlayStation, so they did have the banner, the Xbox banner, pretty much front and center when they announced OD, which I love to see, but I just don't get the ambiguity when it comes to Blade. I mean, and the same thing with Indiana Jones. My memory I couldn't remember that the court case announced that it was going to be exclusive, but that hasn't been announced like outside of the court case. So you wouldn't know unless, we got, the internal documents from the court case. The ambiguity is the problem.
I was going to say, by the way, Serve hit it on the head where he pointed out if it was multi-plat, Sony would have plastered it all over their YouTube, and that's correct.
Mm-hmm. No, that's true. It's 110% true. So yeah, I mean, I would say it's exclusive. I believe it's going to be exclusive. I mean, I had that thought, but then the other thing to consider is maybe they haven't had that discussion. They haven't got that licensing deal completely sewn up yet. So maybe that's why they're doing it. Who knows? But they do tend to do this. But Umbra, I wanted to come to you and just like, what was your standout? Where were you? What was the game that sort of popped out to you as like, that's the one for me? Can't wait to see it come.
Awesome. Well, there were a few. Pause. Yeah, I'm glad we both said it. There were a few that stood out. Right. This is actually a really good show, honestly, as far as announcements goes. They definitely tripped up when it came to handling the developer side of things. He fumbled there. But as far as what surprised the hell out of me, Blade surprised the hell out of me because it seemed like a fever pitch that fanboys really came up with, because I remember that conversation where everybody was like, oh, we need a superhero game. I was one of them. And they were like, get Blade. Everybody kept saying Blade. I'm like, why Blade? Like, why not, why not this kid? Why not the X-Men? Such and such. I wanted the X-Men, if you all remember. I've been saying it for years. I said it way back through the 360 era. I wanted X-Men. So, to see that and I see the teeth, I'm like, is that Blade? And then, sure enough, it was. So that surprised the hell out. That was the biggest surprise. And Moon Studios game, that surprised the hell out of me. It was probably second most biggest surprise. But third, and I saw this game being mentioned before it was shown. I believe Idle Sloth may have shared it on his timeline. I'm pretty sure he did. So I waited to go see the gameplay for it. The first Berserker, Kazan, that was top notch. Really, really surprised by how good that looks. I don't know if you got the trailer to play at Risk, but that right there looks really, really good. Gameplay looks really solid. It has a very Souls-like combat style to it. Everything is trying to be Souls-like nowadays. But it looks really solid. I like the art style in it. Looks very serious, very dreadful, like any Souls type game. Any good one would be anyway. That one right there was kind of my surprise standout outside of Blade, of course. Blade and the No Rest for the Wicked were the two biggest surprises for me. But this right here, I will put it third as far as like I didn't see this being this good or looking this good and surprising me like that.
It's got that cell-shaded art style, but like dark, because often when you see this cell-shaded art style, it's really sort of bright, happy, and sort of crazy, right? And then they didn't show the full Berserker trailer in the game show, but you guys can, I mean, I'm playing it now, but you guys can go check it out on YouTube. It looks really, really good. This is definitely a standout for me. I love the look of this, and I don't normally get into this type of art style. but this one they've darkened it up, like just right. It looks really visceral and like bloody and horrific. But Pete, I gotta go to you and see what your standout was. And I'm sort of surprised that no one's mentioned this other game, which I'll bring up if you don't. But where was your standout for the show?
I want to go back to No Rest for the Wicked because I haven't had my thoughts on that. And look, as soon as the Moon Studios logo came up, of course I was interested. Moon Studios and Ori and the Blind Forest was my game of the year. I absolutely adored that game. I might have shed a tear. Just amazingly emotionally game, and the gameplay was so solid. It was so fluid. I think it's the best feeling game that I've ever played. And I think the first game I ever played on 120 hertz. Just an amazing game. And what it reminded me of, I don't know if anyone else got these vibes, was Fable. Just a really dark, visceral Fable game. So cannot wait for No Rest for the Wicked. Very, very difficult to pick one game or one thing. So I could go Space Marines 2 getting a 9th of September release date. So at least we get a release date. One for Monad. Banish has got a release date. I think it's in either February or March. I'm not actually sure. That really good. But I am going to go Exodus. Another big Hollywood man coming up on stage, Matthew McConaughey. This is an RPG by Archetype Entertainment, who are made up of former BioWare developers, so the pedigree is there. You've got actors, pushing it forward, and so that's one, and it's an RPG, so yeah, I mean, that's probably my most anticipated, outside of Blade, of course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is the game
what Sega did as well. Golden Axe, and I forget the name of him, but what Sega did was amazing as well.
This is the game I was going to bring up because these are the guys that did Mass Effect, right? And now they're doing another one, and strangely with Matthew McConaughey, who was in that I can't think of the name of the movie right now. I'm sure it'll come to me, but with all the time, Interstellar,
all right.
Yeah. So it's got that Interstellar sort of feel to it, but like way in the future and playing around with time dilation and all that sort of stuff. And like, I don't know if you remember back in the 360 days, there was a like sort of an era or like run of games that played around with time, and like telekinesis and all that sort of stuff. And we haven't really had a lot of that, like in these newer generations, and not a lot of sci-fi either. So this is really good to see.
Baby.
Yeah, this sort of to me stood out as like, this is probably my number 2. Just Moon Studios is number 1 for me, but this was like, hell yeah. And I am a Matthew McConaughey fan, right? I guess the question is he going to take his shirt off in the game? Who knows? But
I was surprised, by the way, they didn't really model the character after him. Like, I would have thought that would have been the smart thing to do, but they didn't do that. By the way, I was going to say, Bushido touched on it, and I mentioned this actually on Boom's show earlier, in that he said this show, he was happy with what Xbox showed yesterday. All is forgiven from last year. If you all remember, I actually got featured in an article for complaining about them not showing something at the VGAs last year. I don't know if you all remember me being upset with that, but I was bothered by that because I thought it was a missed opportunity. Now, lo and behold, of course, we got the show in January or February, right? So all of that was for nothing at the end of the day because we got what we needed. But I think, to end off that year where we had a pretty dry year and then not having them at the VGAs, it felt like this was like a waste of a year. That's what it felt like. Fast forward to now, we have 2023, where they've been showcasing games all throughout the year. And carrying the news cycle for gaming by far. If it had not been for Xbox this year, this would have been another dry year for gaming. I mean that sincerely. Xbox has carried this year by far. They've done it so well. I think they deserve more praise than people give them as far as being there to showcase games.
Oh, hang on. And let me jump in here. Yeah. Did you say,
go ahead,
like, including third parties, or are you just saying first party they carried the year? Because this has been
as far as first party goes. I mean, as far as you compare them to Sony, you compare them to Nintendo. Nobody has done it better than Microsoft this year when it comes to showcasing and presenting gaming out there, right? As far as the first party goes. Hell, I'll actually go further now. I'll say third party too. Nobody's outdone Microsoft when it comes to game representation this year and getting their brand out there. And now they had to do a lot of that, right? But Microsoft deserves a lot of praise as far as how they've handled this year.
I think third parties
to January or June.
Third parties carried this year, man. Like there's been
I'm not
lot
arguing about what games did it. I'm talking about what, as far as what they've shown. Okay. Nobody's talking about third party games like that. Nobody's like, oh, let's talk about Zelda for months. No, but we talked about Starfield for months. We talked about Redfall, as bad as it was for months. We talked about the court case. Absolutely. See,
Capcom did a really good job.
Yeah, but I mean, as far as the conversation was carried by Microsoft the entire year. There's no argument around it. Microsoft and Xbox was the focal point of every topic. Even our Hoove brothers had to talk about Xbox. They talk about Xbox all the time, but still. But I'm just saying, like,
even when Spider-Man was coming out, they were talking about Starfield.
That's right. You see, you gotta, and Pixel see what I'm saying. It's all the shows. Microsoft has held it down. Even if we go past the shows, just like Pete said, the court case, everything was focused on Microsoft and Xbox the entire year. Almost every conversation centered around Xbox. So I had to give them credit for just handling that so well and plotting games out the way they did. Again, Blade and
but you know why, right?
Could have been shown during June.
You know why?
Well, I know they have to make up for things, right?
Because
because hey guys in the chat, if you could kindly put some tomatoes and throw them at Riskit, that would be much appreciated. But no, but seriously, Sam, all tomatoes in the chat for Riskit, by the way. I thought he was gonna make a real salient point, but he just X gonna give it to you. But
caveat.
You do know Riskit, don't you, bro?
But yeah, it's Riskit.
Yeah, that's true. That's a fair point. But no, my thing on that is saying that it's a stark contrast. You go from last year where it was dry and we got a dry end of the year to this year where it was Xbox dominated. We got excellent games from Xbox, Redfall notwithstanding, but they've made up for that and patched that up, right? So it's probably way better now than what it ever was. You got all these crazy good announcements. We have 20 plus games that we know about from first party that we know of announced. I don't think you can have a better year than what Xbox has had, minus that one thing, that one blemish. And they showed up at the VGAs. Blade and again, Hellblade 2 could have easily been in June's showcase, but they saved that for this, and it wasn't really leaked. And even the people who knew about it didn't really leak it when they could have. And I think that speaks volumes for how well they handled this year. And now you're capping this year off really solid. You got two nominees that won as far as Hi-Fi Rush and Forza to show. It was just a great overall year for Xbox. Now you're heading into the next year really strong. We're probably going to get a showcase in January or February again. It's just, I think it was an overall W this year. That's the best way I can put it.
Yeah. Look, I would agree with that.
Asking what games releasing first quarter for Microsoft. Okay, I couldn't think of one.
Yeah, you raised an interesting point. I was actually going to go sort of at that. So you said June showcase, and we would have the expectation that there would be a June showcase. I'll get back to the show in 2 seconds. But you raised an interesting point that you would expect that in the June showcase. I think if I think about what's coming out for Xbox and when I believe that stuff will come out, I think we're looking at a much earlier showcase. I think they've probably got one to drop in Q1, and then they probably obviously going to try to drop one every quarter. I think they might be dropping a March showcase to sort of show us what's coming, or something earlier, to sort of show us what's coming for the rest of the year. I think June's a little bit too late, depending on what it is that they drop in.
No, I'm talking about like how they were patterning it off how they did it this year. They did.
Oh yeah. I got you. Yeah, but
they did the show in January when they shadow dropped Hi-Fi Rush. It was late
June. Yeah. Am I saying June when I mean January? I'm sorry. I meant January. I kept saying June. I meant January.
Yeah, there'll be a direct or some sort, right? It'll be early in next year, probably.
Yeah, but
Feb.
And see, my thought was with like, because they turned up at the VGAs, they sort of had to. I mean, I don't know if everyone remembers, but I was the guy who was like, it's not a big deal that Xbox didn't turn up at the VGAs. Like, I pretty much fought the whole community on that one. But like, I still don't think it wasn't a big. I still thought it wasn't a big deal. I thought they would have a showcase, and I ended up being correct. But the only reason I thought that is because they had to have one early, whereas they now don't have to have one early. So I sort of don't see them dropping a showcase in early months, but I don't think you're going to go much past March where they're going to have to have a direct or something, right? In that period between January, February, March, they're going to have something. They might drop a game in Q1, but then they're going to show what's sort of coming for the rest of the year, get you hyped up for the rest of the year, stay in the conversation like they do for the rest of the year, unlike PlayStation. I want to jump back to the show as well, because PlayStation did turn up. I wouldn't say they turned up in a big way, but one of the things that I found really interesting, and I look, there's been some disagreement online, but I truly believe that it's the ABK deal, the way that Xbox is showing up, that God of War DLC is free because they don't have much coming 100%. In the rest of the year, and I feel like to compete, right, with Game Pass and to compete with what Xbox just keeps bringing, like, you know, game after game after game, you know, announcements, and now they're in a cadence of what looks to be like a game every quarter. PlayStation had to do something, and I think that the only thing that they could do is like, well, we've got this DLC. Is it more advantageous for us to drop it? Because me personally, I was thinking about selling my PS5. I probably won't sell my PS5 now until I've played that Ragnarok, unless they give me something else. I mean, they showed up with Rise of the Ronin. I think it was called Rise of the Ronin. But that's it,
We've still got
right?
Hellblade as well.
I mean, there's not a lot.
Final Fantasy 16 Rising Tide. They had Rise of the Ronin. They had Rebirth is coming, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth on Feb 29. So they had some announcements. It wasn't like it was nothing. Helldivers is announced for Feb 8. So they did actually have some announcements, but some of it's third-party stuff, right? And for first party, it's the God of War Ragnarok DLC. But still,
the God of War
games.
one was really.
I wouldn't say they're not. Yeah, it's not like they don't have anything coming. They have stuff coming.
Yeah,
my question would be, how big is that? How expansive is that DLC? Like, very, very unlike Sony to drop something for free. I know Boba put it in the chat a lot earlier, but he said only 4 million people have watched that God of War trailer, which is very unlike God of War and very unlike Sony. So, very interesting.
Well, I'm wondering if it's a roguelike, because, you know, they had that roguelike.
They said so, right?
Yeah. So, but how much of an because it's elements, right? So, how much of a roguelike is it? And they already had that with the with your Valkyries, right? So you could go back and challenge them and have those fights over and over. And there was, and then there was also the mountain you could go up on the first one, and then just go through. And I never did that because it's a pain in the ass. But like, I don't know. That's
because I'm really good at games, but I understand why you couldn't, Risk. I get it.
Oh, it's not couldn't. It's just you know, time versus enjoyment. You know, and just not an enjoyable game.
Sure,
I won't.
Sure. Would that work, Risk? I mean, you've played God of War Valhalla, bro. Would you play does that sound interesting to you? I thought the God of War, what really pushes it ahead, although the combat is amazing, is that story is just brilliantly done.
Pretty solid story, although Ragnarok isn't as good as 2018 story.
Not even close.
But,
that's true, but I think they're both still fantastic.
Not even close.
Yeah,
not even
I'm
close.
with Risk on that. But as far as, because that's your favorite game of all time, right, Risk?
Yeah, it's not even close to 2018. Didn't touch it. Like, it just, it actually took away from 2018, unfortunately, in my view. But yeah, sorry to jump in.
Yeah. No, you're good. But I was going to say, as far as it goes, it being a roguelike, it very much is like the Valkyrie situation, how they handle the Valkyries. I don't think it'll have any strong story elements in it. So, and it's free. That's likely why it won't have any of that. I don't think they're adding any extra dialogue or anything heavy to it, right? If it was something more, they'd handle it like Square is with Final Fantasy 16, which just had a DLC, which I just picked up, by the way. And they have a not season pass, Well, I guess it is a season pass, but you can get this and the next one after it. So they would have handled it more like that if it was actually story based or something like that. So I don't think it's going to be a heavy DLC, and that's why it's free. But free is good. Free is good. That's kudos to them for getting a free DLC to their fans, right? I'm definitely going
I
to play
agree.
through it. Yeah, so it's a win. Comes out next week. I think it's a W for them. It didn't do anything to move the needle for them, if we're being real. Xbox clearly dominated the show. Spider-Man didn't win anything. It was the only game they had nominated for anything, and it was really the only game they had first party this year. And people might say MLB The Show, but we had that on Xbox and Game Pass at that. So I think overall, if you just look at, I'm not trying to shade PlayStation when I say this, but if you look at that show, that was just an overall W for Xbox all around. Even we're even getting Visions of Mana, which looked damn good, by the way. So I mean, it's just stuff
No
that we
longer
normally
locked
get.
to PlayStation, right?
Exactly.
We're getting everything.
Stuff
A
we
lot
didn't
of
even normally
announcements
get.
on Xbox. Yep.
Absolutely. And hell, you're even hearing now that even with Final Fantasy 16 is going to end after a year, they say, right? So that ends.
It was in the
after a
thing, the
year.
trailer, right? They actually had like
It
DLC,
was.
and then there was a little caption, exclusivity until 12/31. So
That's
apparently
right.
at the end of this month, that's up. So maybe PC will be getting it at least, but
I
we'll
believe
see.
so, and I think Square is starting to finally get the picture that they can't just keep staying, exclusive
Oh, I
to
think when they
Sony.
brought Phil Spencer out,
Square,
I
bro.
think that was pretty clear with that
Phil
weird
Spencer!
cringe handshake.
Right?
And
Yeah,
Umbra, you missed another one because it was so irrelevant, which was Call of the Mountain, right? They actually released
Mhm.
PSVR2 this year, and
Yep.
where is it? It's like dead. Nobody talks
E-
about it. Nobody cares about
Exactly.
it, right?
Yep. I keep telling people the VR is just not where we need it to be yet. I keep saying I'm not going to be
Yeah.
interested in until I'm like Ready Player One level where I can get into that world or something. I just don't see the need for.
We can have this
looking
argument.
They didn't even win Best VR
it's-
game.
I
They
don't know.
got,
There was a
it went
V.
to Resident Evil
What about-
8, I think.
There was a VR game that showed that was really really good with Loki in it. But I just doing a little tiny
can't
bit of
remember the
VR.
name of
I think you need to like go jump into VR arcade and check it out, man, because like it is something special. I think VR's amazing. We should be supporting
I
it.
think it's okay. I disagree.
I think Capcom have done the best job when it comes to VR, and especially with those Resident Evil games.
I
And
can
it
agree
won
with
the
that.
best
Like,
VR
there's
game
some-
of the year.
Did they? So like I can agree with certain things. Like I do want it to evolve and get better, right? But I've tried VR before. It doesn't really impress me. It's a niche thing. It's not something you're going to continuously do. Hell, most people get motion sick off the thing. So I just don't think it's ready for prime time yet, honestly. And I'm more of a
I agree,
traditional
Umbra.
game player. You know what I mean? I just want the controller in my hand, seeing what I'm doing on my beautiful
agree.
OLED screen. Yeah, I don't see the novelty.
Okay,
in
but like, do
continuously
you
playing like that.
think that the next generation coming up could be, could see it differently? Like, if they can get it to that level, that this is what, like, I mean, we're old school gamers. We're used to playing with a controller onto a TV. The only thing that I could see it pushing ahead is if the next generation kind of take over. But I don't think it's there yet. I really don't.
I don't think so either.
Well,
Sir said Riskit just doesn't want VR porn to go away.
I mean, if you live in a capitalist society, the only way that you get advancements in technology for things, if there's a market there, and if there's no market there and gamers aren't supporting it, you're never going to get to that Ready Player One, level. So to me, it's like being an early adopter of when you talk about the Super NES and. When games weren't showing up, they were. I don't know why the Spider-Man footage does that. Games were, games were 8-bit or whatever. We sort of used our imagination and supported, as gamers all the way up till now, where we're in, getting this crazy fidelity, 60 frames a second, 120 frames, whatever you get, and now we're here, right? But we supported the whole way through. Without the support for VR, it's never going to get to that Ready Player One level.
Yeah, I
Right?
mean,
Yeah,
listen,
a lot of
hopefully
these
our Who
games are
brothers can take
niche.
us
They're
there.
only
Go
they're
ahead,
only
Pete.
45-minute games as well. Like, so I
Mhm.
don't see them as being fully fledged games either. Umbra pointed out something, like that people get sick playing these games as well. I mean, that's just not something that you want. And look, PSVR2 was the best way of pushing it forward because, you know, it's a console that everyone has and it's attachment to a console that everybody has instead of just being in a PC market, you know. So I think that was the right way to go. But to see that developers aren't really pushing ahead with it, the games that are coming out aren't really selling very well, I don't know. I can't really see it going anywhere.
Yeah, hopefully our Hoove brothers can push it forward because I'm not. I'm telling you that right now.
I mean, I think it's MetaQuest that's going to push it forward, and like
You
MetaQuest
might be right.
3 having the AR mode, I think is kind of going to push it a little bit further. It needs to be something that's usable beyond a couple of hours, though, and that has been the major headache, right? And I mean that literally because you're putting this big, massive thing on your head, and it will eventually make you tired, right? It's got to be something simple like glasses that you can keep on your head all day, and you know it just runs all day, right? Like a phone. That's what it needs to get to. It will eventually get there, and when it gets to that point, then VR, AR becomes just ubiquitous and very cool. But I think that's what it's going to take.
I think the future is AR, and I think HoloLens really did point to that. I think Microsoft got it right once again. Now, although there hasn't been that many games that have HoloLens, it has had applications outside of gaming. That's where it's grown. That's where the growth has been, like where you can walk through a house that you're looking at instead of leaving your house. You just put your glasses on and you can walk through that house and things like that, which I think there is something there, but we're not quite there yet.
Yeah, I think you're all just.
And, I don't. What is it? Oh, fuddy duddies.
I think you're all just being Xbots, but yep, you're right. Yep.
I mean,
I own a
are
HoloLens.
you using it?
I've paid it. I paid like $3,500 for it. So
oh, sheesh.
I've owned the Oculus. I've owned the PSVR. So I've given it a chance, and it's just not. It's not there.
Yeah, I don't know.
What I found hilarious with HoloLens is you could put them on, and it would show you being in a movie theater, but you'd just still see the screen. I thought that was the stupidest fucking thing, man. Like, why wouldn't you just watch your movie in front of your TV? Why do you have to have the fucking curtains there?
Immersion.
Dumb.
Immersion, right?
Come on, man.
Yeah, I don't have
stupid, bro.
Well, I think Serve had it right. We could just watch pornos and stuff on them. That'll solve everything.
You know, wait till we get the suits where, like, if you get touched in game and like you're, the suit reacts to, the touch. I can't wait. It's going to be fantastic.
4D.
Some people
4D,
need smaller suits. Some people need bigger suits. Like, it's all good. Depends.
We'll get you. Don't worry, Risk. We'll get you the smaller suit.
My suit will be the biggest.
Holly, what do you think?
Yeah, Holly.
Some suits will be inverted.
Imaginary.
About the size of a certain person's suit? Is that what you're asking me? I'm not going to comment. Wait, I don't know. I don't know what you want. Like, I bought the VR2. I haven't taken it out of the dang box. And it's only because there's a lack of games. I like VR a lot. I think it's very cool. The idea of it is very cool. I think it's still a little too limited for mass audience, but I do think that it's got a lot of potential. And like the HTC, right, is supposed to be pretty good. Go ahead.
I was just curious if Blue, did you try out or did you have any interest in getting the MetaQuest?
I hate the Book of Faces, and I don't have any account for it, and I never got it because I refused
they got rid of that problem.
Sign up with anything.
That really did push me away too, because like you require a Facebook account. Like, no, I will not be getting a Facebook account. But they took that away.
That's right.
So
that's the only thing to stop Hargeet.
But then I'm like, but it's still giving money to the Zuck. I don't know. I don't know. I guess I was more interested in the PlayStation one because I had the PlayStation and I don't use it that often. And I was like, doggone it, here's a good way for me to use my PlayStation more. Plus, the specs were really good, right? For the price and stuff like that. So I just thought, well, yeah. And I thought this is a great entry. Then the flipping games are like there was one game I saw this summer. I was like, oh, I think it was even a Star Wars game actually, and I was really interested in getting it, but I was like, it's $50. All these other games are 20, maybe 30 tops, and I thought, I bet it's only like a 2 or 3 hour game, right? And for $50, I don't know about that, right? So I just didn't do it. And to be fair, too, I really haven't been watching the VR2 store just because there really wasn't anything before. I kind of just got out of the habit of looking at it. But I really do need to do something about that. I've got some time off coming up. Oh, I should really spend some time like getting into that thing and
are you
forcing my way through it.
Are you going to get the
real game that they had was that Horizon game?
Are you going to get the inverted
that's the other problem,
PSVR2
too.
suit, or is that the plan?
Of course, Riskit had to take it there.
Yeah, he did. Of course he did. Yes, of course he did.
Polly,
I actually, when I was buying RE4, yeah, we should. I told him that earlier. I said, anything you need while you're here, you let me and Umbra know. I didn't tell you I told him that, but I put your name in there.
I'm glad you didn't say yeah. But listen, I'm not talking about leaving him here on good terms, though. I want him to suffer while he's here.
You want to throw eggs at his windows and TP his door?
I mean, behind his head and make sure he's comfortable.
Make sure he comfortably stops breathing. Look, we got really off track. I want to pull us back on track to a next topic. But before I do, guys, please hit the like if you're an old hat. If you're a new hat, you can hit the subscribe, and we'll be live 8 p.m., 7 p.m. EST every Friday. And if you're in Australia, it's 11 a.m. If you're in the East, and if you're on the West Coast, Best Coast, it's 8 a.m. I do want to sort of shift gears because we were talking about, Sony kind of showing up. Mr. Bushido with its $2 super chat says, hi, Hargeet. Not nice. He just ignored everyone else. Didn't appreciate it.
I told him that. Yeah.
Don't appreciate it. I appreciate $2, but don't appreciate the ignorance. I want to shift gears. Hey, while we're on the conversation of talking about PSVR, Sony, PlayStation, and that whole thing, I did want to talk about this because a lot of people. There's a couple of things I want to talk about when I haven't put in the topics this week, but a lot of people are talking about this, and it's the Bungie is resisting a sort of a Sony takeover. And the reason that this has sort of come out is a lot of Bungie devs who have been let go in the recent layoffs, and some apparently existing devs have sort of spoken out anonymously to some of the media about what's been going on behind the scenes. So, I mean, I guess the things to know about this is that so they have a board of 5, and 2 of those board members are Sony, and 3 of those board members Bungie. One's a little bit more impartial. And that could change if Bungie doesn't hit the targets that they're trying to hit. And that means that Sony would then take over the studio, and there would no longer be a separate entity, a subsidiary of Sony that sits under them. They would become part of Sony or PlayStation SIE proper. And I mean, this for a studio that's managed to maintain its independence from 3 up to 3? Yeah, 3 separate sort of takeover bids, I guess. So you've had Xbox, who owned Bungie originally. Activision Blizzard owned Bungie. This is the 3rd. So then they went to independent again, and Sony has now acquired Bungie. So pretty interesting. I mean, they're sort of the hookers of the industry, really. Keep selling themselves to anyone who'll buy. But this is sort of sad to see, because this is a studio that's managed to maintain its independence over the course of 20 plus years. And then to hear that they're on sort of in a precarious situation where they're having to let go of everyone. One of the things that I sort of wanted to make mention of before I go to the panel and guest on this is that they also were asked the question in the Q&A, and the heads of Bungie, when they were asked whether they would take a pay cut, said that they're not that kind of company. I don't know what that means. It means you're not a good company, or it means you're just a bunch of assholes. Like, what does that mean? that's a really weird response to that. So I found that to be odd. Maybe it's time for Sony to soak up Bungie and for Bungie to maybe have these layoffs and put that talent back out in the industry, and then it hopefully comes back to us in other studios and we sort of move on. Maybe Bungie's had its time. I don't know. Hargeet, what were your thoughts on this? Do you think this is as a result of Sony taking over? You think they might have been in serious danger had they not been taken over?
There's a lot of things you can talk about here, right? But first, I guess they were not independent under Microsoft. They were fully directed by Microsoft, and that's why they wanted to split, because Microsoft kept saying make Halo, and they wanted to go do something else. So then they made that publishing agreement with Activision, so they weren't owned there either. They were just independent, but they got publishing through Activision, and then broke that after I think 8 years. They broke their 10-year agreement. And then came the Sony thing, which is interesting as far as how they set it up. But it makes sense as far as like Sony's side of it. Like, hey, if you don't meet your revenue targets, look, the main headache here is, Destiny before the acquisition stuff was happening, Destiny 2's DLC was being added to Game Pass, and that was allowing it to kind of keep increasing its numbers. And then they kind of pulled that, right? And, we're just expecting, hey, you're pulling the old one, you're going to put in the new one, right? Oh, that didn't happen. And then a few months later, we hear, oh, they've been acquired. And then they've been faltering. Now, you could say, hey, the DLC itself sucked. That might be it. Fair enough. But having that install base of 30 million subscribers kind of like insulates you a bit, doesn't it? And that kind of went away. Now, they sold themselves on the numbers they were showing based on that increase and said, hey, we know how to do live games. And the purpose for PlayStation to buy them was because of their ability to attract customers and retain them for live games. Well, if that's no longer the case, is Bungie really their savior? And how J-Rock put it was best was, who's saving the savior? Even if PlayStation took over, does PlayStation know what to do here? Wasn't the whole point that Bungie was going to come in and train up their studios to figure out how to do games as a service? Well, if that's not happening, then who's saving them? Who are they going to bring in to save Bungie? Like, I don't know what that really does, right? So, okay, yeah, you can change out the management, but the whole point was they knew how to do this, right? And if that's broken, it's not happening. Is it just management or is it something else? And, we'll see. The first looks at Marathon from streamers who are trying to, they're trying to gauge how much interest there is. They weren't interested. Well, that's not good, right? So
that's right, yeah, because they asked in a Q&A at the end of the playtest if the game was to be released right now, who would play it, and not a single person put their hand up.
Yeah. So that's not good, because usually, like, the whole point of Bungie is the game loop, right? They have really tight gunplay and movement, and that makes the game more fun. If that wasn't there, then I don't know what the heck draws you to it. It's a PvP only game. There's no campaign. There's no PvE. It's like, well, gee, if nobody wants to play it, that's going to be a problem for them. And look, they've also created a whole bunch of consternation with the studios that are there and telling them that your game, your live game isn't good enough. And we've heard enough about games that are canceled or on ice or moved out or whatever. I don't know where this leads for Bungie, right? To your point of, is this the time for Bungie to be sort of fixed? And that might mean that it's going to not be Bungie again. And, well, that's just fair, and that's life, right? I mean, unfortunately, things don't last forever. And Bungie looks like it's kind of petering. Maybe they come back. Maybe they don't. They do have another DLC coming mid-year that's been delayed, right, to mid-year next year. Hopefully it brings people back. Maybe it won't, because they themselves are killing off the story arc that they've been using with Destiny. And when you do that, you kind of lose, interest. It just is what it is, right? So it's a precarious position for them. Will it end up happening that they get absorbed, as it were? I mean, they already are owned by PlayStation. It just means that PlayStation will now be making all the decisions instead of it's just Bungie doing it themselves. That might not be a bad thing. It may be a bad thing. We'll see.
Are they qualified to do that, though? I mean, is there anyone in PlayStation, that can handle a live service studio? Yeah.
And I don't know the answer to that. Like, and I hate to do it, but I'm going to flip over to the other side and say, what Xbox has been doing is saying, let's establish that, get all the flack for it, because they did. And now they're in a position where their live games just keep ticking and they keep going. And they don't have to worry about that piece. It's there. Now they're worrying about the single player stuff, which is easier. You get a team that can make a single player game and they can just keep doing it. It's good, right? And they're starting to put those out. And you're starting to see the new games that they're announcing. They look good, right? They're getting to that now and bringing that. But they have that solid games as a service foundation already there, making them a lot of profit, right? So I don't know. This is an interesting thing that's going to be playing out over the next year with PlayStation going in one direction and Xbox kind of going in a different, and Nintendo doing its thing with a whole new console. I don't know where Bungie lands. It's a very interesting time. If they're moving their game out, which is supposed to, I guess, come out in 2024 to 2025 for Marathon, is Bungie going to sustain itself? Is it going to have the revenue? Probably not. And to do live games, you need a lot of people. That's why they're like, 1,200, 1,100 people, whatever it is, right? And unfortunately, if you don't have the people, it's going to start making the games worse, right? It's going to make the content less, right? It's just the way it is. And we'll see if that sustains them or not. It's an interesting place to be. To your point about let's not talk about reducing our salaries. That usually is the first thing you do, right? The people at the top, obviously they were bought for billions. They were the shareholders. They must have banked a lot of money. It's like you could just work for $1, right? A lot of companies that happens when the leadership has failed you. The leadership takes the pay cut and keeps the people, and instead of saying no, I got to make my bank. I don't care about you. Like that's a toxic culture, and we're hearing that from, of all places, IGN, who put out an article showcasing that, hey, the culture is rotting there and it's not good. And people are not happy. They're losing. They're not going to get pay raises. They're not getting their bonuses. Their bonuses are cut.
No holiday.
Right. All sorts of things that that they normally were getting. They're being cut, and that's usually what you want to see. Is first
they even
yourself.
They
right?
even cut the knitting classes because they had knitting classes, and they've cut those.
Bogus anyway. I get all that, but I shouldn't say it's bogus. Look, it's something they promised. They should they should handle it. But to even promise something like that is kind of crazy. Fair enough, but
yeah.
But the rest of it isn't, right? Getting merit bonuses, getting merit increases, like those are normal things, and not having that, is that really the fair thing to do? I don't know, right? So especially if you're saying that the management is not going to take the hit themselves, that's the usual place you want to go first. They say, okay, fine, if you're going to make, I don't know, $500,000, $1 million, whatever it is, take that and say, no, you're not going to do that. Put it back in the company. Give the bonus instead. Give the merit increase instead. Right, but if they're not going to do that, they're not going to do that. That's whatever.
And because that's your talent, right? These are the guys that give you the product that you sell. And if you
sour it, once you sour it, they leave. That's it. Because it's very hard to take that culture and make it better again. It's very hard to turn it around. Once you make it toxic, people just amplify that toxicity, and then they just say, "I need to get out of here," and then that's the way it is, right? Unfortunate.
Yeah. I think everyone will be better if it's making money, but. Whenever you fire 100 people after just getting, bored out, that's gonna sour anybody's mood. You've lost friends that you've probably worked with for years. I think Destiny and Bungie have brought a lot of this on themselves, and I know that a lot of people don't want to talk about that, but let's face it, ever since they took over from Activision and had Destiny 2 in their own hands, it hasn't worked out to be the best. They've soured a lot of the Destiny 2 community. They were expecting big things when Bungie, had their hands on the game, and it just hasn't worked out that way. I think the last DLC really, really proved that. But look, the final shape, which it has been pushed back, yes, I get that, but it is the culmination of everything that they've been building towards, and I just wonder if that's going to be enough to bring back the Destiny 2 community at large, because, everything that they've been working towards, this is the culmination of that. I would have thought that if you've been invested in this game for 10 years, you would come back. pre-sales of the game prove that that's not the case, but I don't think that that is the be-all and end-all. When it comes to a game like Destiny that's gone for 10 years, and you know, if you've got such negative press out there at the moment, I wouldn't have thought that you would buy it until the game comes out, and it comes out to either positive or negative reviews. Now, a lot of work has been put into this final DLC. I think they skimped on the previous DLC to make sure they get this one right. And I think the elephant in the room is Marathon. Marathon has not shown well to me. I don't think it's going to do well. I hate the art style. I hate the look of the game. But, you know, it is Bungie at the end of the day, and they have got pedigree. They've made both Halo and Destiny, which have been, you know, industry-changing games. So, I mean, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, I to your point, whether the Destiny community will come back, absolutely they'll come back. They'll come back in droves. It's the ending to the you know, the culmination of everything that Destiny's been. So, I mean, you would 100% see that return, I think. But I mean, you also don't want to go out on a Game of Thrones sort of note. That's not where you want to end a franchise that's been going on for, you know, over a decade. So, yeah, I mean, Blue, want to jump to you? What do you think about this Sony takeover? It could look, at the end of the day, it could end up being a positive thing. It could be that Sony goes, all right, we're taking over and we're going to pump this amount of money in and we expect this from you, or it could be that they take over and there's more cuts. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, one of the things that I don't think I've heard anybody talk about is the fact that, you know, Bungie has alienated that Destiny community as well, just in the fact that it's got one of the most egregious microtransaction infrastructure, right? And it's really it's overly aggressive, right? And how they try to nickel and dime everybody for more and more. But then the other thing I always think about with stuff like this is these were clearly metrics that were put into the agreement when the purchase or the acquisition was negotiated. So was it Sony insisting that they hit these targets, or was it Bungie with this ego that they have, it seems that they have anyway, that said, no, like, these are our easy numbers, we'll hit this, no problem, right? And then they wouldn't have to worry about it. Because I don't know a world where, you know, I don't think they want to be taken over, right? I don't think any of this leadership ever thought that was really a thing they had to worry about. So, you know, why did they allow this to be the terms of the agreement? But to Heartbeat's point, I do think it is, you know, very telling that, you know, they bought them to do other things outside of just Bungie and the games that they're building. They bought them for all of the other things that they were supposed to bring Sony. However, we also know that there's been a massive amount of layoffs, even at Epic, that makes Fortnite, right? And there's a lot of people out there to pick up. So if Sony does eventually swoop in and clean house, I think there's a list of talent out there looking for jobs right now. And it's obviously that's not the ideal way to do it. There's a transition period and a lot of culture building that's hopefully a lot better, because it sounds like it needs to be built from the ground up, because even the people that are there, like you guys touched on, right? They're like down in the dumps and they're getting callous, you know, responses from leadership, and it's just not a great situation to be. The games industry this year, personnel wise, man, it has been the exact opposite of what a boon it has been to be a gamer this year. And it just doesn't translate in my head that how, you know, people are losing their jobs left and right, but yet we're getting all these fantastic games. It's just so weird and unfortunate. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Bungie needs a shakeup. I mean, hopefully for everybody that works there, I think that it's probably a better thing at this point, if it really is that bad there. to just go in and clean house.
Then pull the pin.
I think they're sitting on a gold mine, and that gold mine is called Destiny 3.
Yeah, but they're not
I don't
developing Destiny 3. That's the thing. They're developing Marathon, and that's not looking good.
I mean, there's fatigue. There just comes fatigue too. Like, you know, you need something different. You have to have something different to make people want to go back to something.
And the other thing is, I think, is a bit of a missed opportunity is the stuff that I've been saying. Like, they could have pulled a team at any sort of stage instead of just focusing wholesale on the one game. If you got all your eggs in one basket and that basket sours, you're pretty much fucked. So I think they've made a mistake, and a lot of AAAs have made the mistake of focusing in on their massive franchise without fostering anything else. Destiny could have had the developers, the amount of developers, but they could have been doing something on the side, you know, like maybe a single player experience or something experience, just to give them, you know, to have other opportunities for revenue for them to bring in as a business, but also provide other experiences to players outside of Destiny as well. And I think they were talented enough and had the staff to do that. But yeah, I mean, just a bit of a sad thing.
The problem.
I agree with that, but I'll add
with Destiny 2.
Go ahead, Pete.
I was going to say the problem with Destiny 2 is just getting new players in is almost impossible. Starting from scratch in Destiny 2 is probably the hardest thing that you're ever going to do. It's too much that has gone before. The fact that I've bought DLC that I'm not even allowed to access now because they only allow you to play like the most recent DLCs, things like that. They're so unbelievably off-putting to the community. And so, yes, the retention has been bad as of late, but you're also not pulling in new blood. So, you know, it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
So I agree with both of that, both of you guys on that. I will add to that. I think the fact that most complaints I've seen, and I talked with Danny about this because he used to be an avid Destiny fan, and he was saying that it's not been enough changes to each season that they've added, and some of them, the seasons they've added, have been trash, and it kind of hurt the fan base behind it. I would go as far as agree with you, Risk, where they had 1,100, so they laid off 100 people, but they still have 1,000 employees. That's a ton of employees. That's AAA Sony level of Last of Us type almost. Well, they had like 2,000 on Last of Us, but you get my point. That's a lot. So yeah, why not give other experiences? Why not a single player? I think, in the reason I mentioned why not a single player, I think because to me it speaks of the genre itself kind of going out of style. I don't think enough people are putting attention to where the shift is going on. I think people are starting to shift away from live service as a whole in a lot of ways. I think it's only a certain few standouts that are like, this is the one we're going to. That's like the Fortnites, you know what I mean? Like the maybe even the what's the name of that game? They showed it too during the showcase yesterday. Warframe.
The extraction shoot. Oh,
yep, Warframe.
Yeah, Warframe. Like you have certain standouts, right? Where people go to, and that's their thing. And I think Destiny, because of them having certain expansions that may have come short, people was like the attention, like, okay, I'm going to go over to this. You see what I mean? So I think that might be the case where people are starting to deviate from this genre too. And that's why most of these fail in general, because people are going to kind of gravitate to where they can get their best experience overall. And I think Fortnite kind of plays into it because they have such a wide variety of things you can do in Fortnite. You know what I mean? Versus something like Destiny or any of these other games that are bound to fail at Sony right now. That's why they had to cut that forecast from 12 to 6. So I think they see the writing on the wall too. What were you going to say, though?
Umbra, you bring up an interesting point there, and I think if like you know, Boo, you were also mentioning how there's like layoffs at even Epic, like all of them are going down. But there's one interesting part of that is like this year has been insane with like single player games, right? And how much time do you have, right? So there might just be, hey, instead of playing Destiny, I'm going to play Hogwarts. And, well, that takes away time from Destiny. That's just the way it is, right? And there's so many of them. It's just been month after month after month of so many awesome games that maybe that's just it. It's just a flip of, like, I only have so much time. And also we've come out of lockdowns, and now I want to go out on vacation, and I'm going to, like, not be playing games as much, but I'm going to play those games, and I got these awesome, like, you know, single-player things coming out. It just is what it is, right? And it just adds up to, well, people are disengaging, not because like they hate the game or something. It's just like time. There's other things to do. And so it's just adds up. It just is what it is, right?
You know what? Speaking of
Well,
that, you had a really solid year this year in games, right? So maybe it is the case, like you said, the time that they're going to spend, they're going to dedicate it to games that they haven't had experiences with, that are, really, really great games. So a lot of that time is being taken away from them sitting there dedicating days and weeks playing that when they have an abundance of great games. Last year was an outlier where we had a very low lull, if you will, as far as great AAA experiences. So I think they probably excelled more then versus this year. So maybe they might rebound. You know what I mean? They put in a good expansion, and it could, land if the year isn't super strong like it was this year. Maybe there's something to that, but I think it might be a bit of
It'll
fatigue.
be even more crazy.
Well, if you can-
I know. I'm trying to be positive, but yeah.
Blue.
If you combine your two ideas, though, really also another thing that just bringing it together, right, is the fact that, like, to Hargate's point, there are other things out there, and people are out of lockdown, people are going on more vacations, et cetera, et cetera. But at the same time, Destiny is also one of those games where if you didn't play something, you fall behind, and it becomes increasingly more difficult, right, to catch up. I know they put in those advances to try to move you up, and those kinds of things, but it just isn't the same. And if you have a squad that you go do your raids with, and they've been playing, then you're the guy behind, and you're trying to catch up, and it's just not worth the time and effort, considering you're now doing other things. Plus, oh look, this Baldur's Gate thing has got everybody like talking about it. Guys, let's go play that together co-op, or things like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is exactly
Yeah,
right,
absolutely.
Holly.
I mean-
And it's not like Fortnite, which you can just jump into at any time. I tried very hard to jump back into Destiny this year, because I had a crew that was willing to run with me, and I was just so far behind their light level that I couldn't run the same missions, and it's infuriating.
Yeah, absolutely. And
that goes to the point that sorry, Risk. I was going to say that goes to the question that Sappho was asking about the vaulted, and that's probably what it was, Pete, because they had vaulted like a lot of their vanilla content and I think 2 DLCs.
Yeah.
So a lot of that
Yeah.
was
I
just
refused to buy the
inaccessible.
new DLC
Mhm.
because I couldn't play the ones that I had already previously bought. That's infuriating.
Yeah, I mean that's a bit of an issue we've got with digital, and the show's running a bit long, and that was one of the things I wanted to talk about with the digital content vaulting, and then also Sony pulled Discovery and you can't access those movies, and that's a thing that you have to worry about with digital these days. But just going back to what Sappho said, yeah, she I think it's a she said isn't a ton of content in Destiny currently vaulted. They could bring back that content back and get marathon across the finish line. And AJH was saying a little bit further back there that they're already doing that. My suggestion, which is making something on the side. AJH not talking about Marathon, which is very likely to be another live service game, and talking about a smaller experience. You could pump out a 10-hour single player experience with look at Hellblade, the original, did that with 15 people. They've got a team of 1,000 developers. You pull 200 developers off Destiny that are just making content for that. You put them onto a single player experience. Then you've got more IP that you can pull from. But just having a single IP that you focus on as a studio, to me it's sort of death, really. It's you can see it. We've seen it kill studios in the past. I think it's something that studios need to really concentrate on and look at, and especially publishing houses start to diversify what it is that their output is. If you're having a live service, have something else in the basket, have something in the single player, have something in the in the multiplayer that's not live service. Just have and Destiny did have that, and they let that go as well. So there's a lot of things that you could sort of point to with Destiny that they've made a lot of bad choices. They've not listened to their community. They made promises that they've broken. Their microtransactions are egregious. They're vaulting content. When you look at Sony's purchase of them, it's almost, it might be beneficial to go back and look at what Destiny did as a what not to do, more than a what to do.
Yeah, that's crazy to say that, isn't it? I think a great way of looking at it is, like you guys have all said, they've got 1,000 employees working at the company. Look at what Call of Duty are able to put out every year, year on year, in terms of combat, in terms of content. There is no way you can tell me that Destiny or Bungie have got anywhere close to that. So I don't know what they're doing there.
Yeah, Peter, to your point, they had that. That's how they were able to make the original content when they were under the Activision publishing deal. They actually leveraged a lot of the studios from Activision, right, to create content, and that went away. It dried up, and it hasn't exactly been great ever since that. So that is part of it.
Crazy.
Just having the raw people.
The community was pushing for that Activision split, and look what's happened since.
Yeah. And I guess what Jim was saying, that this was the better acquisition for them. This 3.6 billion definitely makes it better than ABK for them. Sure it is. I'm sure it is.
Well, it just shows they were hiding their flaws, right, and blaming it on Activision, and turns out probably wasn't the truth.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point.
Activision's got its own problems. Keep yours.
Yeah.
And for all those people who are going against Phil about not picking up Bungie, for not going after Aspire making KOTOR, who came out on the right side of those decisions?
Yeah,
exactly.
Or Platinum.
I mean, but still, they didn't have to have Aspire make. Yeah, I mean, that's a whole other thing. But like, I mean, you guys were talking earlier about seeing that. I mean, Phil never directly said he wouldn't go after established IPs, but he made mention that they had plenty of other IPs that they could pull from. But we all wanted this Blade. We all wanted these IPs that they could pull from and do a good job with. And it's good to see at least that they are, open to those decisions if their studio wants to make that. Because I mean, Arcane went to Marvel and said, "We've got a great idea for a Blade game." And Marvel was like, "Wow, yeah, we love that. Let's do it." So I mean, I guess it's with Microsoft. I guess at this point, with the amount of studios that they have, it's just sort of up to the studios what they want to do and what IPs they want to go after. And we can see now that Phil will support them going after established IPs. So that's a good thing. I mean, sort of sidebar. I didn't say that earlier, so I'm just throwing that in now. Look, quickly, I'd normally shut the show down, but I'm just going to real quickly, I'm going to, like, this whole thing with the PlayStation pulling Discovery and everyone losing their movies. I sort of want to, there's a couple of community members on the Hooved side that weren't calling this out, and I sort of said it behooved them to call it out because it's not just a PlayStation specific problem that this is going on. This is in the T's and C's of everything that you buy digitally, is that you don't really own it. You do, unless they decide to de-license it or delist it. And then you no longer have that content. And it's a bit of a scary thing, and it bothers me that the PlayStation community can't pull their heads out of their asses and call out this sort of bad acting when it happens. And if Microsoft were to delist stuff that I had purchased, I would be pissed, and I would call that out. And so I just wanted to make that point. And if anyone wants to add anything to that, then we can, and then we'll jump to outros.
No, I agree with you 100%. I saw Tom Warren, shout out to Tom Warren, all respect, but he tried to make it like it's a thing of all over the place, and it's a general statement for all Xbox and PlayStation. I had to make sure to post on that tweet, like, no, PlayStation is doing this. Microsoft has had its issues, and they're not perfect, certainly, but Microsoft is a leap year ahead of Sony when it comes to preservation of games and you getting your things you paid for. Hell, you can't even buy a game digitally outside of Sony's ecosystem and play it. So that's a Sony issue specifically. And I'm with you 100% on there. There's no way in the world I'm going to be sitting here buying, and how can you trust them? You buying a game over there or whatever it is, or content, and now you're hearing issues that you won't even be able to access it. Hell, Sony just had the issue where they locked people out and still haven't explained why, and they just silently put people back on. Spooky over there at Sony. Yeah, spooky over there at Sony. Microsoft would never get away with that. We wouldn't allow it. But our Hoove brothers, they stay silent when it comes to that. But they have their mouths wide open and agape when it comes to Xbox. It's weird.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, it is.
It definitely is. Go ahead, sorry.
No. I mean, I'll quickly jump to you. I mean, I'm not disagreeing that Sony has been a proponent of this, but it is a wider concern just digitally in this digital market when you talk about Apple, Google, all of these companies that sell digital content. What happens when they decide to delist it or they take that license away? Huggy.
No, that's literally what I was going to say, Riskit, is like it's not about PlayStation specifically. It's the digital world. If you want to buy something on Amazon, or you want to buy something on Google, or you want to buy something wherever, right? Voodoo. If you do all that and you say, well, at any point they could just take it away, that totally breaks the confidence, right? So if you're expecting us to shift to a digital world, which in the music and movie area, that's already happened. A lot of people are digital. And if you're going to suddenly say, well, the stuff you bought, not the stuff you subscribed to, but bought, is suddenly just going to be taken away because some contractual issue between two companies, yeah, that's probably not good enough. And this is the kind of area where you do need your regulatory agencies to come in and say, no, they paid for content. The license has to go all the way through to the original content owner such that they can access it wherever they need to. This thing needs to just not be an issue, right? If it's Sony can't do it, fine. Find a way to move that license to somebody else such that the owner of that content still has access to that content through another
Where they bought
provider, right? Instead of saying, wherever it doesn't really matter. They bought it through, let's say they bought it through Amazon, and Amazon has a contractual dispute. Fine, I should be able to go to Google and watch my content there. I don't care. I bought it, right? So that's the beauty of the physical, is I can just take my disc wherever I want. Well, if you're going to say make it digital, it's got to have the same rights. That's something that they need to work on, right? Right now we kind of do things based on what the content providers want, not the consumer, and that part needs to change.
Yeah, well, there's no real protection there, which from what I can see, and when I say where I bought the content, so if I bought the content on Xbox, I think you could link Xbox to Google or to something else, and you can watch those. YouTube, I believe you can do it with. You can link that content and watch it on YouTube, which is great. Yep. It's fantastic. But we were talking about that last week. But to if I bought content on PlayStation and knowing that I was going to watch it there, and that was my planned place to watch it, I would want that content to be available there. At the very least, I would want access to that content with something else that I own and can easily access without any added cost or added ads. So, for instance, if it was YouTube and I had to deal with ads, but I'd bought the content on PlayStation where it didn't have to deal with ads, well, that's that again is a problem as well. So, I think agree with you, Hardgeek, when you say, like, not a subscription service, is when you subscribe to something and you're of the understanding that at any point they can take that away because, Hooved brothers love to say we're renting it. And to some degree, that's probably true. But when you buy to own content and then it can be taken away from you, that is just... look, I equated it to this. Like, I sold you Bob's bike and then Bob wasn't happy with me, so he came to your house and he took his bike back. Like, you paid for the bike, so in your mind it's your bike, right? But I sold you Bob's bike, and then me and Bob had a disagreement, and you're affected by it. That's not how digital content needs to work to maintain consumer confidence. There you go.
We've had this discussion before, haven't we, Risk? And it's a big problem going forward. And I think Destiny 2 really showed it, where I've bought content and I can't access it now. And it's a lot of the reasons why people still buy physical. They want to be able to put that disc in, even though it doesn't really work that way anymore. This is much broader discussion, and I think it's way too late in the show start talking about it now, but I think it's definitely a discussion we need to have going forward. Yeah,
definitely, absolutely. You jump in. I mean, I was just going to say, I still buy physical on PlayStation. The reason that I do that is because I don't have a digital console that I need to transfer it to. I only buy digital on Xbox because I have the S. That's the only reason.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I mean, really simple. If the case is that when we buy our digital games and we don't have any, you don't quite own them because they can take it away like this or anything, and the physical you don't quite own either, right? Because they have little words that they, then what stops anybody from just saying, I'm going to go to piracy? What's the use of paying for something that you're going to take away from me when I can just go take it from you? I think it leaves itself open to that for a lot of people, and a lot of people are already going to that with PC. So I think
I
there's
think
a
it's in the
danger with
terms and
that.
conditions, Umbra, that you got to sign, like, when you have to agree to all of it at the start of every game that nobody reads because it's legal mumbo jumbo. But I
Yeah,
actually think it is written there that it can be taken away from you at any point in
it
time.
is.
Yeah,
It's
it
ridiculous.
is. No, it is. It's in the T's and C's of all digital content. And it's, something along the lines usually of, if you misuse the content, then, they can take it. And then there's that little bit at the end that's, like sort of legal mumbo jumbo that's like basically says for any reason if we decide to, which is not cool. But
Yeah,
you're right.
your account could be taken away, right? Just like you were mentioning, right? The account issues that were happening where there were a bunch of accounts being locked out. It's tied to your account. If your account's gone, you lose all of it, right? That's yet another headache. And again, this is like the digital rights stuff that really needs to come up in legalese with governments saying, no, you have ownership of something, and that ownership should withstand whatever, right? So that just needs to be resolved. Otherwise, this is going to become a problem.
Absolutely. Where is Lena when you need her? And that rhymed. And I can't think of another rhyme with chime. Anyway, whatever. Look,
Time.
It's been a long
Time.
It's been a long
Rhyme.
time, and that's the chime. We're going to wrap up the show. It's been a pretty fantastic show, actually. With some really good conversations about stuff that sort of wasn't in topics that we sort of deviated to, and I like it when that happens. So we got some, we covered some good ground here. Geet, another fantastic show. The almost panel member guest. Let people know where they can find you, what you'll be up to. How your week's looking? Is RDX coming back?
So is RDX coming back? I don't know when it's coming back, but yes, at some point. Hopefully soon. I don't know when. So you can find me on Discord HChani and Xbox HChani, not on any other social media. And check out GameOnDaily.com or YouTube.com/GameOnDaily and see what we're doing up there. And then I've been playing a whole bunch of games. I'm on vacation till Jan 2, I think it is. So I've got a few more weeks to just keep getting through my backlog. So that's what I've been doing.
Getting into Baldur's Gate. Don't you know it? Infinite Umbra, another fantastic show, fantastic conversations that's come through every week, man. Let the people know where they can find you, what you're up to, what you be playing.
Oh man, yeah, I'll be. You can find me, of course, on Infinite Umbra or Umbra Infinite on Twitter X, and of course Tuesdays Xbox Factor with myself, Daniel McGee, and Boom, and he's searching for a third panel member right now. Just a shout out to any of you guys that might want to swing through. Thursdays, of course, The Fix, and I have some new stuff in the works with that. Yeah, I have some new stuff in the works for The Fix, by the way. I've had the good brother Wondering Dutch making me some new thumbnail adverts, and they look damn good, by the way. I have to show you all this. And of course, here with you guys next week. As far as what I'm playing Final Fantasy 16 still. I'm about to finish that up. I'm on the stable side of things right now, but yeah, I'm going to finish that up, and I do plan on getting Baldur's Gate 3 Game of the Year. Shout out to that. Soon, I'm going to jump into that as well. So, yeah, thank you guys in the chat for being here, except Bushido, and hit the like and subscribe if you haven't.
We love you, Bushido. We love you. JediKnightPete, another fantastic week. People know where they can find you, what you'll be up to, what you're looking forward to playing. Game of the Year coming up.
So I just found out before the show that I have access to Baldur's Gate 3, so I'll be downloading that. I'm still playing Call of Duty Zombies. I don't know if anything's going to get me off that game. They just released Season 1. I want to go check out that 8th Storm. That sounds really fucking cool. And I'll probably play a little bit more Halo Firefight. You can find me at JediKnightPeter everywhere. Chat was fucking awesome today. Thank you very much. Had a great show.
Yeah, absolutely. Chat was absolutely amazing. Especially Serve. Oh. Hi, mate. My son's just burst into the room. Blue, another fantastic week. Let people know where they can find you, what you'll be up to, and how your week's looking.
The unofficial fifth member of
it's ThatBlueNumber everywhere on the gaming networks and on Twitter, and Tuesday nights at 5 p.m. Central, the Renegade Realm podcast. I think
Red Wolf Renegade podcast.
Pete went.
The Get a
What's that?
Braid Wolfie podcast. What's it called?
Here we go again. Don't ruin it. Renegade Realm podcast.
The Red Wolf Renegades.
Be nice.
I'm going to wrap this one up real quick. You
it's
guys
not
can
Red
find
Wolf
me.
Renegade. It's Renegade Realm.
Renegade Realm podcast, absolutely. You guys can find me all over Twitter. You'll be fine. This week I'll be playing Baldur's Gate. Another fantastic week. Thank you guys. The chat guys are absolutely amazing. My son has taken over the studio, and so we're going to bail. I'll see you guys next week.
Congratulations, Blood Wolf. Love you, brother.